Hall of Famer Rachel Yankees told talkSPORT England just know how to win.
Yeah, I think, you look at the Spanish team, beautiful football they play. And, for large periods of the game, they probably were on top, if we're honest. But, we all know that it's definitely in tournament football. It's about, digging in. It's about making sure that you come out on top and you find a way to win. And I think all throughout this tournament, that's been the beauty of the England side, is that even when they haven't performed well, they've found a way to win, and I suppose that's the sign of true champions. And I'm really, really, really pleased.
Ahead of tomorrow's trophy parade, the Lionesses have a date at Downing Street this afternoon. Elsewhere today, Luis Diaz looks Bayern bound to end in a 3-year deal worth £15 million. And Rangers are leading the race to bring in Spurs' Mikey Moore on a season-long loan. For more transfer news, head to the live blog on the website, that's talksport.com. Finally, England have added all-rounder Jamie Overton to the squad for the series decider against India. 2-1 England, the fifth and final instalment gets underway at the Oval from Thursday.
Good evening. You are listening in to Transfer Insiders with me, Natalie, Sawyer and Rory Jennings. The Lionesses are back-to-back European champions after beating Spain in Basel yesterday evening. An incredible moment. We'll be crossing over to Downing Street, where the Lionesses have arrived to meet the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner. Also, we're going to discuss Liverpool with Luis Diaz's departure to Bayern Munich imminent. Does this pave the way for Alexander Isak to make a switch to Anfield? Could Newcastle be going in for Southampton goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale after Burnley's James Trafford looks set to join Manchester City? And Sunderland, well, they really seem to be really going for it in this window. Granit Jaca has agreed terms to come to Weir's side from Bayer Leverkusen. The Sunderland legend, that is Mickey Gray, will join us to talk through their business. You can get in touch with us on the show. You can text us to 81089. You can call us on 03 717 223344. Why not get involved? Why not have a chat with us this Monday evening? This is Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. Oh, Rory, how are you?
Here we go. I'm very well, Natalie. Very well. How are you?
Very well as well. How can I not be after what we saw yesterday?
That was glorious. It really was glorious, wasn't it? It was just perfection. Everything about it was just a joy to behold. And I think it was done in a really English way. Through grit. It didn't necessarily go our way to begin with. There were a lot of issues when we first started. There were major issues with the players. The opening game certainly didn't go our way. But what we did was we dug deep, we found a way, we kept the British stiff upper lip, and I just loved everything about it.
Yeah. I don't know how anyone couldn't.
No.
We have seen.
Everybody. I mean, it takes a heart of stone to not enjoy it. Regardless of how much you watch or enjoy the women's game generally, England have just won a final. England have just retained silverware. Like, whatever your take on I don't know how people make it a political stance, but whatever your take on the game, it was only a joy to behold.
Yeah. Listen, I'm fully on board with what you're saying, because at the end of the day, they are back-to-back European champions. That's never been done before by any England team. They've never won an England team on foreign soil as well. And this is something we should be celebrating, and rightly so, and we are, because as we mentioned already, they've arrived at Downing Street to meet the Deputy Prime Minister. They're going to be having the huge parade tomorrow as well, and they should.
As well they should, absolutely. Yeah. I loved everything, I really did. I thought it was so good, and something that I've just found so refreshing, something that we don't necessarily see as often as, in my opinion, we should. It was just that unashamed patriotism at the end. Yeah. You know that line? I am so proud to be English.
Yes.
It was like, oh, hang on a minute. Absolutely.
We never hear that.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like I say, the way that they won, it was all done through that determination. And like I say, everything about it, it was just historic. And I'm so pleased that it's gone our way. On for the hat-trick.
Indeed. There's a World Cup to come before that, though, so let's see if we can get that one over the line. The Lionesses are now inside 10 Downing Street with the Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, even. talkSPORT Alex Dibble is there for us now. Alex, how's it all going? What's the reception been like, just from where you're standing?
Yeah, it's been amazing, Natalie. Hi, Rory, as well. I mean, we've been here a couple of hours. Obviously, the team were delayed getting from Southend Airport all the way through central London during rush hour, even during the school summer holidays. That took a little while, but they eventually got here, and it was an incredible sight as the team, they got off the coach just outside the gates at the end of Downing Street, and then they just slowly all walked up in formation almost all the way to the steps of number 10. They clearly thought about this before the tournament. You know, what are we going to look like? What are we going to wear if we win this thing? They were all turned out in these incredibly slick, I think beige is the colour, suits, and black as well. They all look fantastic. Serena Wiegmann in particular, and then Leah Williamson with the trophy, putting that down on the red carpet outside the famous black door of number 10. They all looked fantastic. They all looked like they were just beaming with pride. Not many of them looked like they'd had any sleep, let's be honest, but that's the whole part of the fun, isn't it? And then they were all ushered inside, and as soon as the black door behind me opened, you could hear an incredible cheer from inside as everybody in number 10 gave them that incredible welcome, that rapturous applause, and they all filed in. So it really was an amazing moment.
Without a doubt. And do you know what? This is something that when the final penalty went in from Chloe Kelly, I just got really emotional, as I did the previous time when they won the Euros, namely because I thought in my mind, what does this mean for the future of women's football, and what does this do for young girls and boys, because there will be boys inspired by this too. And that's all I could think about, Alex, is that future and how rosy it may well look for youngsters now.
Yeah, and we've spoken about how the Deputy Prime Minister has been welcoming them at Downing Street today, but also the Sports Minister, Stephanie Peacock. She's part of the delegation that have welcomed the Lionesses to Downing Street. And one of the things she was saying before this celebratory event is that she wants it to push on and create that lasting legacy that we heard a lot about 3 years ago after that victory at Wembley. And we have seen an incredible increase in participation. We've seen incredible foundations built on, to the extent that now 100,000 more women are playing football than there were 10 years ago, and that is a lot been because of what happened 3 years ago with the Lionesses. So Stephanie Peacock's here. She wants to push on even further, as do the Lionesses behind me. And you're talking about ways that we can grow this game, ways that we can honour the women that walked past me just now. Well, one of the proposals is to get more of them honours. You know, after the victory 3 years ago, there were honours. Some of them were made MBEs, but some of them weren't. The likes of Chloe Kelly, Jess Carter, Alex Greenwood, Ella Toone, Alessia Russo, who have just delivered a back-to-back European Championship. And there are many, the former Sports Minister Tracy Crouch now saying, come on, let's get those girls honoured as well. And then the message to the nation is really unambiguous.
It really is. It really is something special, isn't it? It really does feel like something historic is taking place. What's the ambience there, Alex? Does it feel like that? Does it feel like you're part of something genuinely historic?
It does. You know, this is what I love about summer tournaments. This is going to sound silly, but you get to experience them when the sun is shining, the weather is fantastic. You know, I'm here at Downing Street, the evening sun is just glimmering through the trees. The whole thing just makes you feel great, and that cannot be underestimated, because this message to young girls, not just young girls, young boys, young men, young women across the country, is being delivered to them at a time of year when they are feeling in their bodies, yeah, I can get out there, I can do something about this, I want to get involved, I can, literally tomorrow or next week. And I think that's the powerful thing about this time of year. When the Lionesses arrived on the coach, they had to snake their way all the way through central London, as I mentioned, but the coach had to stop outside the gates, and all the people that have waited on Whitehall for them for hours and hours and hours, you could hear the cheer from here where I am standing now, because that is how much this team means to people. And I completely agree with you. You know, it's just going to go from strength to strength, isn't it?
Absolutely. Alex, thank you. Great to hear from you. And the Lionesses, the winning Lionesses, greeted by the Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner on Downing Street. Tomorrow there will be an open-top bus parade along the Mall, beginning at 12:10, which is quite exciting. So if you've got a spare couple of hours, why not head down there if you're around in and around London, because I'm sure it'll be a fabulous occasion. But like I was saying, Rory, it is about the pathway, and now there are girls who are looking on, and I do echo there are boys as well that will have enjoyed that and may think, I want to play a part in a big tournament. But in particular girls, when you think of the starved success that women have had for so very, very long, the fact that they couldn't be professional for a very, very long time as well, and in fact it's only really in the last decade or so that we can talk about professional women footballers, that paving of the way is just hopefully a game changer. No,
I completely agree. I mean, as much as you say it's been the last decade, you're completely correct. But it wasn't until 1971 that they were actually allowed to even play.
Yeah, exactly. So
no, it is a massive statement. It's truly brilliant that this has happened, and I just think the way that it was achieved, like the story of Chloe Kelly, like the resilience that was displayed throughout. The fact that I think this is fair to say, Spain were better. Spain are a better team. Spain had more of the ball. You know, there was a lot that you could admire about the Spanish side, but somehow, in the truest definition of what being English represents, they dug deep, they were resilient, they fought tooth and nail, they found a way, and they have ultimately made history for England. It's truly, truly brilliant. And the fact that they've done it, and I know I mentioned this earlier, and I just find it so refreshing. Often when we're patriotic here, we kind of caveat it all. You kind of go, I don't know, I think it's okay to say it, but maybe it's not. And for some reason, it's seen as something that we shouldn't necessarily say or be proud of. I loved it. I loved that interview at the end. Like, I am so proud to be English. I thought, oh gosh, like what? Well, I've never heard that on the telly. Yeah,
because as we said before, it doesn't really happen.
No, they've done the country proud, and I think any talk of the highest honours should be bestowed upon every single member of this squad.
Yeah, absolutely. If some of them already have some sort of an honour, then all of them should by now, because it's no easy task to win back-to-back European titles. And yes, Spain probably will look back and think, how did they not win it for the dominance in the game? But that whole tournament is summed up for England in that final, because it was all about comebacks. Yeah. And that's exactly
never say die attitude, wasn't it? It was a genuine never say die attitude, even when it felt at times like the deck was stacked against us a bit at various points this tournament. Almost before a ball was kicked, in fact. Yeah. So no, it really is special, and I think you touched on it as well. The impact that this could have on particularly young girls who will be inspired by this, want to play the game. I imagine that attendances will rocket now. It's just tremendous news. It really is. It really is a heartwarming story, and it's just so good for the game.
Yeah, I am by no means good at football, but I wish this had happened when I was growing up, because I would have loved to just seen if there was that sort of pathway. Well, it could have been very different.
I've got a kid. I've got a daughter at Little Kickers at the moment, and I'm hoping now I can see now there's a pathway.
Yeah, exactly. You just don't know. These are all the different options, certainly. Listen, there is so much for us to get through. We'll continue to talk about the Lionesses because it is an amazing achievement that we should be celebrating. We'll also, of course, bring you all the very latest transfer news too. You're tuning into Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org.
10k for Coldplay.
Good evening, this is Transfer Insiders. It's Rory, Jennings and Natalie Sawyer with you until 10. And yes, Coldplay are back at Wembley this summer. And we've got a huge VIP prize up for grabs for one lucky listener. We're giving you the chance to win 6 tickets in a private box for you and your mates. That's on August the 22nd. And it's with full hospitality. Plus, not only that, we're chucking in 10 grand as well. That's spending money for you, completely tax free. Here's how you enter. It is 80 and over, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word WIN to 83338. That has to be sent in by the 4th of August by 11 p.m. and that's it. You'll be in the draw. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission. And if you've got a bit of paper and pen handy, you can also post your name and number to Coldplay Competition, PO Box 3190, Colchester CO2 8GP, and that has to arrive by 5 p.m. on the 7th of August. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. All T's and C's are at talksport.com. All right then, it's time for us to bring you an odds update with Ladbrokes.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Supercharge your odds with our Odds Boost button. Selected markets applies to first £50 of stake. Terms apply. 18 plus. Gambleaware.org.
A very good evening to Cal Gilder. Hi, Cal.
Hi there, I'm all right, thank you. I was going to wear my replica talkSPORT shirt for this appearance, but Rory's comments the other day put the fear of God into me. How are you guys doing?
You shouldn't be scared of him. Come on.
I've had the fear of God put into me. You should see my mentions on social media. I'm terrified.
No.
I've got a target on my back.
There's also a reason why I've turned round the texts and WhatsApps and everything. He doesn't want to see those either, Cal, I'll tell you that. Obviously, Cal, we're talking about the euphoria of the Lionesses winning the Euros back-to-back. An incredible achievement. And naturally, we have to look ahead to what's next, what's the big major tournament, and that's the Brazil World Cup in 2027. So what chance do you give them of winning that?
Yeah, what a nice start, to talk about England having some glory. And by the way, just clocked that Chloe Kelly is now the 6-4 joint favourite with Rory McIlroy for sports personality. He was odds on after he did the Grand Slam, so that has been an interesting update following yesterday. But yeah, I digress. England are 6-1 to follow up yesterday's incredible triumph by winning the World Cup. Makes them the joint second favourites in our book. A lot can change in 2 years, but if Serena Wiedmann's still in charge of the Lionesses, they're going to have the best coach at the tournament, aren't they? Spain, 3-1 favourites despite yesterday, and the United States of the team are alongside England at 6-1. But for me, ones to watch from an each-way perspective this far out, I should say. If we ignore the Lionesses, who will surely go off shorter than 60s, it's Brazil at 10-1. They're currently in the semi-finals as they're going for a 5th straight Copa America. And after she came out of retirement, legendary Marta, is she going to stick around for a Hollywood ending? Give Brazil women first World Cup on home soil? Taking all that into account, 10-1 seems decent for them looking ahead.
Yes, no doubt. Cal, it seems to all be hotting up in the Premier League, doesn't it? The return of the old-fashioned archetypal striker seems to be very en vogue at the moment as well. You've got Victor Gyökeres. There's lots of talk about what Alexander Isak is going to do. Chelsea have made moves. With all of that in mind, the Premier League top goal scorer odds, how are they shaping up? Is it another tap-in for Haaland, or do you think that there's a bit of jeopardy around it?
I mean, the favourite to be top scorer naturally is Erling Haaland. He's 5-4 to win the Golden Boot. But believe it or not, we had Gyökeres at odds on to be Arsenal's top goal scorer next season before he even joined. Now there's an Arsenal player, not changed. He's 4-6 to top their scoring charts. After the deal was finally done, he went straight in as the 4th favourite to be the league's top scorer at 10-1. Before we know whether he's going to be a Van Nistelrooy or a Kesman, though, it looks decent each way given the quality of his supply line, doesn't it? Last year's winner, Mo Salah, he's 4-1. And even if we don't know where he's going to be playing, Alexander Isak is still the 3rd favourite of Ladbrokes at 5-1.
Okay, all right, lots of choice there. Goodness me. Liverpool been strengthening from a position of power, haven't they, this window? So are they favourites to win it once more?
Yeah, as it stands, Liverpool are the 7-4 favourites. They've shortened from 2-1 in recent days, while Arsenal and City round out the top 3 at 12-5 and 3-1 respectively. Found it interesting, though, that Arsenal's odds actually went out marginally after signing Gyökeres, but that might actually be in anticipation of Liverpool getting even stronger. Won't speculate on that potential transfer any further. But the better news for Arsenal is that our traders expect them to be the pick of the bunch in the capital. They're heavily odds on to be the top London club at about 3-1 on. Rory, Chelsea, 9-1 4 favourites for the title. Same price as Liverpool this time last year, by the way. They're 12-5 to be kings of the smoke, and I'm sorry to say it, Natalie, but propping up that market's Brentford at 100-1.
I mean...
Whatever, Cal. I was
going so well, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we all want to win the Capital Cup. I mean, clearly, that's what we're all vying for. Chelsea, then. You're not pick of the crop in London.
No, I mean, I think it's going to take something spectacular to dethrone Liverpool and then somehow get above Arsenal. And then you obviously have to give Pep Guardiola and Man City an honourable mention as well. You know, what is it, Pep 4.0? It's going to be very impressive. I'm sure he's going to make it work, and we'll have to see what he has to offer. But look, if the points tally doesn't end up being something huge, you know, if it doesn't end up being 95, 96, 97, then I think there's a world in which Chelsea could win the league. But I just don't see us breaking that 95-point barrier.
Okay. All right. Well, Cal, thank you. Great to have you with us this evening. That is Cal Gilder from Ladbrokes, and that was a look at the latest odds.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Supercharge your odds with our odds boost button. Selected markets applies to first £50 of stake. Terms apply. 18+. Gambleaware.org.
Let's get back onto the lionesses, shall we? Because they have been, being greeted at Downing Street by the Deputy Prime Minister this evening after receiving a hero's welcome when they flew back into Southend Airport. So one of their heroes from Basel, Hannah Hampton, the #1 goalkeeper, has been speaking to our very own Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. This was what happened after the game.
Hannah Hampton, just talk to me about this team, this moment, how you keep digging yourself out of these situations and lifting the trophy, the Euros, yet again.
I think this team's special. Everyone's seen that throughout the whole tournament. It doesn't matter what gets thrown at us, we'll come out on top. And today being able to lift that trophy is, it's a real reward for all the determination, hard work, and just the grit that we've shown throughout this tournament to keep ourselves going when everything's been thrown against us.
And for you, your first major as #1, you've performed extremely well, obviously coming up in big moments, big saves. The one I always think about was a save from Rolfer just before half-time in the Sweden game. If it goes 3-0, it's probably a different game, but you've had these massive moments. How pleased are you that obviously you've stepped into some big gloves?
Yeah, like you say, first tournament playing, not too shabby, winning it. But no, I think all I can really say is thanks to Serena. She's shown us the faith and belief from the start to put us in the goal. And I think she's just really instilled that confidence in me to be able to go and showcase what I can do. Maybe not showcase everything to my best. There's still plenty more to come from me, but to be able to help the team in any way possible. I've been running around for 120 minutes, so the least I can do is save a few shots here and there. And it's a team sport at the end of the day, so we're all just in it together, and we grind the results out until the end.
Just talk me through that process when it comes to penalties. Obviously you do a lot of analysis, but is it something that you relish or you don't really like it?
I think it depends how the first couple of pens go, to be honest. The Sweden game, I wasn't enjoying it that much with how our pens were going, but no, like I said, whatever I can do to help the team. I knew that they've been running around for 120 minutes, so in the penalty shootout it was my turn to repay the favour and helping me keep the ball out the back of the net and not really making me do much in the 120 minutes. So I'll do whatever I can to help this team. I'll always give 100% when I'm wearing an England shirt, so to be able to save a couple pens, it's a lovely moment, but it's just a credit to the team, to be honest.
That's Hannah Hampton, then, the goalkeeper for the Lionesses at the Euros, who actually picked up the player of the match in that final yesterday as well. And Rory, her story is so fascinating. Not just, first of all, the fact that she's come into her first major tournament as the #1, coming in under the extreme pressure of having to be Mary Earps's replacement. And Mary Earps, let's not forget, a 2-time FIFA best goalkeeper in the world. Pressure already on her then, just by wearing those gloves, and she delivered under that.
That was amazing. It really was amazing. I mean, and I don't know if you saw, but there was a tribute. Like, her grandfather died 2 days.
No, I saw that.
Like, it was so emotional, wasn't it? 2 days before the fight, like, she could have totally justified not playing in a final. You know, a grandfather who, from my understanding, she had a really strong relationship with, died 2 days before the final, and yet she managed to not only clear her mind and play, but put in a match-winning performance. It was amazing. I feel like so many of these players, they're so iconic. Like Chloe Kelly, she's like a genuine hero, like a real hero. Hannah Hampton, a genuine hero. And it's like you've touched on already, but they are true icons, and it's really important that they are acknowledged as such.
Yeah, and Hannah Hampton at a young age was diagnosed with a depth perception condition, which means basically one of her eyes turns differently to the other. So she can't actually judge, even now, can't properly judge the flight and direction of a ball. She was told at a young age that she shouldn't be involved in sport. It wouldn't work for her at all, but she persevered and decided this was something she wanted to do. Her granddad, big supporter of her, like you've just mentioned there, that close connection.
She had his name. She had Grandpa, didn't she, emblazoned on the interior of her kit.
Yeah.
It's like amazing. It really is. It's like heartfelt stuff.
Yeah. And then you look at someone else, Chloe Kelly.
Oh, hero.
I mean, that technique for a penalty.
Hero.
I can't quite work out what it is. Like, it's a bit like the old Karate Kid.
Yeah, Danielson.
Yeah, all of that malarkey. I don't know what you call it. What is it, that thing that I don't know how you call it. That in itself, just watching that, I think, how you score from that, I don't know, because it's bizarre. It's a bit, if I liken it back to my team with Ivan Toney and how he used to never have a run-up, it was just the reaction,
for the composure, just everything about it. It really is an inspirational story. And you know, there's constantly talk and in my opinion, fairly unhelpful comparisons between the men's and the women's sides. Yeah. But there is certainly a world where the men's team could use this as inspiring stuff. Like, you look at the reaction, you look at the glow around the country, you look at the celebrations. I think it was Ella Toon's Instagram story at 4:30 in the morning or whatever, you know, before heading to Downish. Like, it's all a glimpse into what it could be if things go well in America in 12 months' time.
Yeah. Oh, no. And look, it's something that you just said there that I think is really important. You can't compare the two. The men and women's game are very, very different. I remember Serena Williams, I forget when it was, but a few years ago, she was on a chat show in America, and I think someone asked her about playing men against men in tennis. And her point was, she said, if I took on Andy Murray, he would beat me 6-love in 10 minutes. That's what she said, because it's so different, she was saying. But ultimately, you can appreciate what Serena Williams has done for tennis, like we can appreciate what the Lionesses have done for women's football.
Absolutely.
But they are both very different.
Absolutely.
And so,
that's, I think, the way that we should approach it. Like, these stories, they're stories that are so newsworthy and inspiring within their own right. You know, like I saw I think it's Beth Mead and Ella Toon. They posted a picture. I think both have lost parents recently, and their message was something along the lines of, we did it for our angels in the sky. Like, this is all heartfelt, relatable, brilliant storylines that has been generated by true icons of British athleticism. Like, they're amazing. They are truly amazing. I'm glad to see that they had a good time. I think Serena Wiegmann was talking once. She said, I think she intimated quite how boozy it was, and I imagine that will continue for some time. But it's well earned. They are heroes, and they are champions. They are champions of Europe who have retained silverware. They're the first England side to have won on foreign soil, lifted a trophy on foreign soil. This is it. We're all quite fortunate now. You, I, and everybody who's fortunate enough to be alive at the moment, because you've kind of witnessed this story. You've witnessed this history. This can never be done again for the first time. You can never retain it again for the first. You know, this is it, and that's why this crop of players will go down in history as and will be remembered as fondly as some of the icons of the past. Yeah. Certainly that. Game changers, I think that's fair to say, of these Lionesses. OK, look, we're going to take a break. When we return, we are going to start focusing very much on all the very latest transfers, because this, of course, is Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT.
cricket balls are red, baseballs are white, American footballs are brown, and tennis balls are yellow. We don't even think about it really, but the story behind the tennis ball is actually quite interesting and even involves Sir David Attenborough. I know, here's the tale. Tennis has its roots in 12th century France when people used to make balls from all sorts. Cork, wool, chalk, animal fur and even human hair. Uniformity was found centuries later when people started making balls out of something called vulcanized rubber, invented in the US. But the balls kept on breaking, so a British lawyer, who also loved tennis, suggested they put a flannel covering on the outside, and thus the tennis ball as we know it was born. One problem, it was either white or black. And when the controller of BBC Two, Sir David Attenborough, decided Wimbledon would be shown in colour on the BBC in 1967, no one could actually see the balls on telly. So the International Tennis Federation went away and created a new colour called Optic Yellow, which would show up without the need for a 4K LED.
Good evening. This is Transfer Insiders here on talkSPORT. Rory, Jennings and Natalie Sawyer with you. We are with you until 10 as well. It's time now for us to take a look at the latest football action with Ladbrokes.
The big preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Supercharge your odds with our odds boost button. Selected markets applies to first £50 of stake. Terms apply. 18+. GambleAware.org.
Yeah, it's time for us to cast our eye then over some of the latest transfer news doing the rounds. Pleased to say joining us to do that, it is our transfer reporter, Ben Jacobs. How you doing, Ben?
Evening, guys. All is well. How are you?
Very well.
Yeah. Go on, Rory, you kick us off.
Ben, what's going on? Aaron Ramsdale to Newcastle, we're hearing. It's been a fairly underwhelming transfer window so far for Newcastle United. I'm not sure if Aaron Ramsdale's the man to ignite the enthusiasm at St James's Park.
Yeah, underwhelming, or you could say ambitious, because virtually every target Newcastle have got a big six or major team they're going up against, and unfortunately they're losing out on a number of races, but you can't fault the ambition. Aaron Ramsdale is a target that Newcastle have pivoted to after missing out on James Trafford to Manchester City. They've made an approach for an initial loan with buy option, and Southampton are prepared to sell, but only at the right number. They're talking figures at the moment. It's kind of a working bid verbally that allows a starting point in negotiations, but some way to go before this move gets done. On the player side, it's very positive. He's keen on a move. I can also tell you that Ramsdale rejected an approach from Sunderland earlier in the window, so that will go down well with the Magpies fans. But it looks like Newcastle are quite optimistic that this one might get over the line, and as a result, they'll finally get a goalkeeper through the door. Not their first choice, but someone with plenty of Premier League experience, and more importantly for Newcastle at the other end of the field, working on the striker situation. Two attackers may have to come in if Newcastle are to sanction an Alexander Isak exit.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think a lot of Newcastle fans obviously are worrying about right now. Is Isak going to be leaving? It feels as though it's pointing in that direction, although we're still yet to hear about any official bids, I assume.
Yeah, Newcastle are aware that Liverpool will break the British transfer record because they were told that before Hugo Ekitike arrived. But we've got two extremes at the moment. Some fear, if we can call it that, at the Newcastle end that a Liverpool bid will be imminent, and extreme caution on the Liverpool side because they don't want to place a formal offer unless basically Newcastle tell them Isak is now for sale. And the only scenario in which that's going to happen is if Newcastle bring in one or two attackers. So key to unlocking this is not just Luis Diaz's departure to Bayern and the potential maybe for Darwin Núñez to leave. In fact, the expectation probably amongst Liverpool that he will depart somewhere as long as their valuation is hit. But also Newcastle are going to have to bring in some names, and that might mean they go from not for sale to suddenly reluctant sellers. Benjamin Sesko is the name that they're working on at Leipzig. It could cost potentially as high as 80 million euros, and Manchester United are considering entering that race as well. Johan Wissa is pushing for a move to Newcastle United. He wants to play Champions League football. He believes that Brentford have U-turned on a verbal pact allowing him to go this summer. In addition to that, Nicholas Jackson is emerging as another name on Newcastle's radar. And my expectation is, as I said before, that one, if not two of these names are going to have to arrive, and Liverpool may just sit back, knowing they've got buy-in on the Isak side, wait for those names to come in, and then time a bid at some point in August to see whether they can do the unthinkable, get their dream target Isak and Hugo Ekitike. And of course, if they secure both with Ekitike already there, it becomes a 10 out of 10 window for Liverpool Football Club. You can't win windows, you can only win football matches, but I think it'd be fair to say if Isak arrived, Richard Hughes will have got all of his top targets through the door.
Yeah, that would be hugely impressive from Liverpool. Chelsea have done fairly well though as well, Ben. I'm seeing that we are potentially going to sell Joao Felix for a decent amount of money.
Yeah, Joao Felix has already signed his contract at Al Nassr. It's a done deal. It might be announced this evening because Saudi love a late announcement, even though it's already the middle of the night there. If not, my expectation is tomorrow. 2-year contract, 30 million euros up front, 20 million in add-ons, and crucially, a sell-on clause. And you may note it's only a 2-year contract. So there's a fair chance, given Felix's age, that Chelsea may get another significant portion. And I think this is why it's kind of been weighted at only 30 million euros as the fixed fee, because it means with that being reasonably low, if there's a 40-50 million sale, Chelsea are cashing in on any profit over 30 million euros. So all in, I think Chelsea are budgeting for about 55, if not 60 million euros of income. If the add-ons are met, the sell-on gives them an extra profit plus the fixed fee. And that means they'll get back more than they paid. So he's off to Al Nassr. Suggestions that Marc Cucurella could join him in Saudi Arabia are wide of the mark. That's a player that's not for sale. But I'm also told that Al Nassr haven't actually made an approach for Cucurella either. And then in terms of incomings, Chelsea are working on Xavi Simons. They're expected to place a first bid soon after positive verbal talks. An agreement in principle for Jorel Hato at Ajax is not far off. Chelsea see him more as Cucurella cover than necessarily a left-sided centre-back, but the advantage is that he can play comfortably in both positions. And I wouldn't even rule out a bid still for Alejandro Garnacho, because Chelsea's perspective is kind of Xavi is a 10, and with Giovanni Quadraoni arriving next year, Mikhailo Mudryk not able to play at the moment, and Jadon Sancho going back to Manchester United, Tyreek George could also be loaned somewhere for his development. So still maybe room for another attacker, double Dutch, and possibly Garnacho on the left as well.
Goodness me. I mean, Chelsea are spending the dosh once more. No. We'll talk more about Chelsea actually a little bit later on in the show as well. But Granit Jaca to Sunderland. This one has sort of come out of nowhere, it feels, in the last few days. But it feels as though it's a vital player that they might need in when coming in with Premier League experience.
An incredible, and I think ambitious move by Sunderland. They've had a fantastic window. Florent Gazolfi, the new sporting director, very much utilising a lot of his European contacts in particular to get Sunderland some outstanding signings. It's kind of reminding me a bit of the window when Nottingham Forest first got promoted, and they made several signings and people said too many, and then when they all settled down, Forest ended up rising, and as we saw last season, they walked away with European football. And I think Sunderland have similar kind of ambitions. They're not just coming into this Premier League to stay up or to be in the bottom half of the table or to constantly fight for survival. 3 to 5 years they want to be in the top half of the table, and even trying to do something like Newcastle's ambitious project. And Granit Xhaka is sold on that, so he's agreed a 3-year deal, £13 million up front, 4 million in add-ons. Leverkusen, particularly Erik ten Hag, didn't want him to leave, but when you've got a player pushing for an exit and wishing to return to the Premier League, it's kind of quite hard to keep him at the football club, especially when Leverkusen have got so much respect for Granit Xhaka and what he did in that season in particular when they went unbeaten in the Bundesliga 2 seasons ago and won the title. So at the end of the day, there was an amicable departure, even though it's a reluctant one from Leverkusen's point of view. And Granit Xhaka now just needs to formalise the move and pass his medical in the next 24 hours, and he will be a Sunderland player. And actually, actually, despite his age, 17 million. Some will say due to the fact he's in his 30s, that's quite expensive. But I think when you look at what the market's doing at the moment with midfielders going for between 30 and 50 million, for Sunderland to get a player of Jaca's ability for under 20 million pounds, that's not a bad deal.
I agree with you, Ben. I think it's a fantastic deal.
Yeah.
I think it's exactly the kind of player that they should be signing, and I think he could have a very, very impressive year for Sunderland next year. Luis Diaz, the medical at Bayern Munich is going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, he's flown in. I believe he's landed now from Tokyo. Long flight, medical tomorrow. 70 million euros, 5 million in add-ons. Liverpool perceive those add-ons to be very easily gettable, which is usually code for their appearance base. So Liverpool are planning for the full 75 million. It's a 4-year contract with a 1-year option. And this was a case of Liverpool sort of changing their perspective. They didn't want to sell Diaz. All the data pointed towards keeping a player that got them 13 goals last season. But Diaz was pushing for the exit, and Liverpool in the end chose not to stand in his way, providing their valuation was met. And of course, people will now say Diaz departs. You got more money coming in. You got wage space. Nunez, as I said before, is also likely to leave. So add those two up, and Liverpool do seem poised to add another attacker. I'm not so sure it'll be like for like or box office left winger, despite suggestions of Rodrigo. Liverpool feel that deal is too expensive. More likely, if they've got the budget, they put it on Alexander Isak, and then they'll assess if they also need a younger and cheaper left winger in addition, or if Hugo Ekitike could potentially play on that left-hand side with Isak leading the line.
It's really interesting, isn't it, when you consider, Ben, that I know we've just been talking about Sunderland there, but so many of the top 6 are going big in this summer window. We've still got over a month to go before the window closes. There's been a few clubs that are a little quieter, perhaps, for some fans. I'm thinking off the top of my head, maybe Aston Villa or an Everton, West Ham, for example. I mean, there's still plenty of business for a lot of these clubs still to do, Ben.
Yeah, I think Everton are going to be really active and actually haven't had a bad start to the window because the Friedkin Group have done 2 things. 1, invested and restructured the debt, and 2, sold their women's team to their sister company, a la Villa and Chelsea. So they are satisfied as far as PSR is concerned. And Everton are going to continue to go big. Keep an eye on Jack Grealish still. It will have to be a loan, possibly with a buy option. But Everton still wants to try and take Grealish away from Manchester City. That's not a dead deal. West Ham United have struggled a little bit. Mohamed Kudus has kind of unlocked their window. And now my understanding is that Graham Potter wants 2 or 3 midfielders through the door, a number 10 or at least an 8 that can play in an advanced position, and a holding midfielder as well. And just keep one small eye on Fabio Vieira, the Arsenal midfielder, because he's come on West Ham United's radar in the last few days. Kiernan Dewsbury Hall is another name appreciated by West Ham United. So some of the clubs that maybe needed to wait until the new financial year will now get going, and I would expect West Ham to be one of them that are active, especially in the centre of the park. Not just because Kudus has gone to Spurs, but Edson Alvarez has a question mark over his future as well.
Busy. That's how we like it. Ben, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
That's Ben Jacobs, and that was all thanks to Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over, begambleaware.org.
The big preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Supercharge your odds with our odds boost button. Selected markets applies to first £50 of stake. Terms apply. 18+. Gambleaware.org.
There's lots still to come in the show. We will focus on Chelsea. We'll also maybe talk a little bit about my club, the state they're in at this present moment, where it seems as though everyone's heading for the exit door. But next up on Transfer Insiders, we're going to have our feature Rumour Has It. Evening. Thank you very much for tuning in to Transfer Insiders this Monday night. It's Rory Jennings and me, Natalie Sawyer. We are with you until the sports bar. It's now time for this.
Rumour has it.
Oh, you got to let it play out for a little bit, haven't you? Yeah, this is our feature, Rumour Has It, where me and Rory were going to have, a little discussion on some of the latest transfer rumours. We'll decide whether it's a good move for that player and the club. And joining us now to help us through it is assistant producer Luke. How you doing, Luke?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Right. Very well, very well. I'm intrigued by this.
Yeah, it's good. It's going to spark a few debates like we normally have.
You've already warned me that you two can go at each other.
We had an argument last time.
Well, yeah, we did. The last time I remember it was the Gordon Grealish debate. That took a little bit of.
Yeah, because Jack Grealish is a class act.
I know, we're not going there. I know
exactly. Because you were wrong about Jack Grealish, so as long as you're not wrong, we'll be fine.
I wasn't wrong. But anyway, let's start with Nottingham Forest, shall we?
Okay.
And we'll talk about wingers. Adama Traore. Nuno wants to reunite with his former colleague at Wolves from Fulham. Is that a good replacement for Anthony Elanga?
I mean, the only reason that this could work is because Nuno Espirito Santo has a pre-existing relationship with him. The fact that he knows what he's about, the fact that he has previously coaxed a good level of performance out of Adama Traore, perhaps, but it doesn't feel particularly inspiring. Can you see this one actually happening?
I don't know if it happens, but there is legs to it, considering Elanga and Adama Traore are kind of the similar type of player. Forest like to play on the counter-attack with Callum Hudson-Odoi on the left, and Adama Traore on the right, crossing the ball in. Chris Wood is still there.
Yeah, I mean, and look, if you can get Adama Traore playing to his best level, if you can get him charging at defences, and you can sort out the end product, he's certainly a good player there. Premier League proven. Is he as good as Anthony Elanga? Maybe on his. I don't know.
I think Elanga's better.
Yeah.
But you're right, you said if he can have that pace that we've seen him have many a time, that burst of pace, and how quick they like to break when you've got Elliot Anderson and then Morgan Gibbs-White, like they like to spray it around, then yeah, it could work. And you say the key thing is the Nuno link, isn't it?
It's only right to move on from Forest to talk about Tottenham, right? Considering what's been going on. We are not going to talk about Tottenham's wingers. We're going to talk about Tottenham in midfield. João Palhinha has been linked in recent weeks. However, another one of their midfielders that springs to mind is Douglas Luiz, the former Villa midfielder.
Good player.
Is that the type of six that Spurs need, or do they need a Palhinha? And do you think they're both?
I would say they'd need a Palhinha type player, more combative, somebody to win the ball, somebody who's a little bit more aggressive and on the front foot. I think if you look at what they're lacking in midfield, I think it's almost totally that number six, that clear ball winning number six, a terrier like player. So I think that would be the top signing for them. And I think anything that isn't Palhinha will feel like not ideal.
So why not Douglas Luiz though? What does he not offer?
I do rate Luiz, but I just feel like Tottenham have a version of that already. They have like the slightly more progressive midfielder they have in James Maddison, they have in Kulusevski. I feel like what they need is a true ball winner.
I agree.
But Palhinha would be a great signing for them.
Yeah. Do you agree? You probably know Thomas Frank better than anyone. Do they need?
Because we have to bring him up.
Sorry, we're talking about Tottenham. We kind of have to.
Well, I mean, he always likes to have. I mean, we had obviously Christian Norgard, who's now moved to Arsenal, who was that kind of midfielder that would break up the play. Would actually, a lot of our build-up play would start with him. Is that sort of number six, but was a bit of a number 8 at times too. Yeah, he would love that player like that. Absolutely, it's just another one. First of all, it's another defensive player in there, isn't it? But also a player that your keeper can perhaps play out to, and then you kick on, don't you? So, yeah, I can see that one working out for sure.
Interesting. We'll move on and talk about Everton. Well, you just heard there about Jack Grealish. But they're also after former Arsenal midfielder, or right back, depends what you call him, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, which would be quite an interesting one.
Big good signing.
Yeah, it would be a good signing.
Be a really good signing for Everton. Actually.
How do you feel about Everton next season?
I think they need a little bit more going on. I think we need to hear these kind of conversations. When you come in here to talk about transfers, I think we need to be talking about Everton a little bit more. They need some more work. They need some additions, no doubt. It's going to be a hard season. You know, when you move to a new stadium. I mean, Arsenal fans will tell you this, and Tottenham fans know this. It's hard. You know, you move to a new ground, and I think that the general feeling is that there's going to be this ambience, this fervour, this passion, this excitement, and that will all be true. But it won't feel like home just yet. Like, it's not going to be as tribal. It's not going to be as intimidating. It's not going to be as impassioned as the Gladys Street. So it could be a very hard season for Everton. But signing players like Maitland-Niles, I feel like that's the exact kind of signing that they should be making. Premier League proven footballer. Somebody that they know can do a job.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's obviously left. Goals is going to be an issue for them. It was an issue previously before David Moyes, under Sean Dyche. It was an issue for them. I know they started scoring goals once he returned, David Moyes, but I still think that's their biggest issue, clearly, and that's got to be rectified. I know what you mean about a new stadium, but I sort of feel like with our club,
could it galvanise them a little bit?
Although it was that was the same, wasn't it? It was the same but different. You didn't move as such. It was
we did move.
Pretty much
about a mile and a half away.
Right. Well, whatever. Yeah, I suppose that's a move. Still feels very Brentford though.
No, it is. It is. You're right, and it is obviously across the park, isn't it, where they've moved to now. And by all accounts, they've deliberately, like they did at Brentford, you know, and they'll do it at any ground. I'm sure when you move to a new one, your core. You know, like our Ealing Road, for example, fan base back at Griffin Park were all moved to the West Stand just to make sure, the atmosphere still continues to come out of the core group, if you like. So I know they've done that with the Everton fan base as well. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Yeah. It's going to be interesting because I mean, part of what made Everton such a formidable opposition over the years was the home form. Like going to Goodison Park was always difficult, always a hard place. They were capable, regardless of how poor they were. At Goodison Park, it was always seen as a tough game. Like you would always say, if you were competing for the league and Manchester United were competing for the league, if Manchester United were playing Everton, regardless of where Everton were in the league, you were going, right, they could drop points here at Goodison Park. That's true.
They need that again. They need that. But in terms of the signings here, I feel like a player like Maitland-Niles would be ideal.
Yeah, and I can tell you as an Arsenal fan, a horrible place to go is St James's Park, and that's Newcastle, and that's next on the list. Tino Livramento, his name has been rumoured to move to Manchester City, and also Anthony Gordon's name still hasn't gone away with interest from Arsenal. Could Newcastle's best bit of business in the summer actually just be keeping hold of their better?
You'll be happy. You love Anthony Gordon.
You've really taken the words out of my mouth, haven't you? Yeah. You really have.
You love him, don't you?
No.
You do.
Rory, let's go. The question was, I said Anthony Gordon was subject to a move to Liverpool, and this was about a month ago, and Jack Grealish was the replacement. And I said, I'm not sure how that works because I think they're two different type of players. I said, in that role, I think Anthony Gordon would be a better player. Jack Grealish is better in the more central number 10 role. And then you went on to talk about how world-class Jack Grealish is, and Anthony Gordon is nowhere near that level. And it just turned into a massive debate. We're not going there. It's about Newcastle.
In answer to your question, yes. Keeping hold of players at this present moment feels like a big deal for Newcastle because, you know, they've just finally got themselves back into the Champions League picture. You don't want to now be losing some of your best players, especially to your rivals.
It's also a sign of intent, isn't it? It's like the statement that it makes. Are you a selling club? The top teams, Champions League teams, in terms of principle, nobody sells their best players. You don't want to be a selling club. Like losing Alexander Isak, for example, it would be a disaster. But to lose him to a Premier League rival, it feels like the statement that it makes is as damaging as losing the player on the pitch.
Yeah, and if you lose Tino Livramento to Manchester City and Anthony Gordon's linked to a move to the Emirates, and they're, like you say, they're your rivals, that's more damaging.
Yeah.
This is the point when Newcastle fans will be saying, shut the shop now. The window has to close.
However, they could get Benjamin Sesko through the door. They could get Johan Wiese, through the door.
No? It's a moment, isn't it, for Newcastle now, the next 2 weeks?
It's a fascinating window because you don't really know how their team is going to look. And I kind of like Newcastle. I think they've got probably one of the best midfielders of the Premier League. They've obviously got one, if not the best striker. I know people say Haaland, but the more complete striker in the Premier League in terms of all-round game. Anthony Gordon is a very good player. Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento are probably the two most emerging fullbacks. Very close.
Where did you say Anthony Gordon was linked with?
Arsenal.
Would you be happy with that?
if I'm being honest, at the back end of last season, he tailed off. I'm not going to compare him to Martinelli, but I think you'd get the same type of performance in an Arsenal shirt from Gordon, and if you swap them, you'd probably get the same in Martinelli. So you'd look at Martinelli in a Newcastle shirt and go, we could do with something like that.
If it were to actually happen, just like I suppose the bottom line here, is Anthony Gordon a better player than Gabriel Martinelli?
Oh, it's a tough one. I put this in my group chat actually, and I actually put a poll in this, and actually 10 people, 5% said yes, they would take Gordon at Arsenal. I'm not quite sure. If you ask me, I'd prefer Eberechi Eze, personally. Not to play off the left, but to drift off and play in the 10 position.
Yeah. But you've also got Noni Madueke to think about, who I know traditionally plays on the right, but can play on the left, and that's what a lot of people...
I think he's going to shock a lot of... I think he's going to play a lot more on the left, because I think we've lacked having a left footer just to cross the ball in naturally, and it's always been back on the back, which is why I think Martinelli and Trossard start to struggle, because when we break at pace and then you wait... So it's difficult. But yeah, away from Newcastle, the last one quickly is Gianluigi Donnarumma. Interesting.
Oh.
Out of contract to PSG next summer. PSG have just brought in a replacement keeper, Lucas Travielli, I think how you pronounce it, for contract for a 4-year contract. Very interesting why Donnarumma would be willing to leave PSG with 12 months left in his contract and Manchester United as a possible destination. To be honest, does it really matter? Surely he'd just be anywhere, right?
Donnarumma to Manchester United.
I was going to say, you can't swap PSG, surely, for Old Trafford.
But why would you let your keeper like that even be in a position?
No, it's terrible. But wherever he ends up, it cannot be like... I think we could talk about him leaving PSG, but we can't talk about him leaving PSG to Man United, can we?
Well, that's the gossip. That's my job, to come in and rumour.
I mean, that would be an amazing signing. That would be an amazing signing for Man United.
As a Chelsea fan,
I mean, obviously, it'd be the best signing that we could. The best bit of business that Chelsea could do from this point on for the rest of the window would be signing Donnarumma. Of course, it would. It would actually change who we are. You know, when people talk about where will Chelsea finish next season, what's he worth to us? He's worth a swing of 15 points.
Where do you think you'll finish right now?
Certainly top 4. Depending on my mood, 2nd, 3rd or 4th.
If you signed Donnarumma, second on your mood.
All of them, then.
So you finish this. If you signed Donnarumma, does that?
Donnarumma, I feel like we could be outsiders for the Premier League title. With Robert Sanchez, we're not winning the league.
But with Donnarumma, you could win.
With Donnarumma, I think that we can genuinely discuss Chelsea as title contenders, not favourites. Not likely. It would be a left field shout.
Are you title contenders now?
No, not with Robert Sanchez. Robert Sanchez doesn't win a league title. He can win a cup. He can't win a league title.
Okay, sure.
Just not.
No, I agree. I do agree.
So just to clarify, he's out of contract next
summer.
Season.
Yeah,
next summer.
And apparently the rumour is, funny enough, he wants to stay at PSG, but PSG would rather sell in now to make money. If they can't agree a new contract.
Sometimes when I hear these things, that just doesn't chime with any kind of good strategy. He's such a good keeper.
I always think now in football, this thing about even that your best players with 2 years left on your contract, it's scary.
It's like an albatross. He's fantastic.
I hate to say it, but we've been talking about dynasties with PSG.
Yeah.
He's part of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I can tell you, some of those saves in the Champions League semi-final, I haven't actually forgot about him. He was brilliant.
No, I mean, when you drill down into why Paris Saint-Germain won the European Cup, he's top 3 names, undoubtedly. Yeah. Bearing in mind one of them will be Luis Enrique.
And he got man of the match in the semi-final. He actually was awarded the man of the match.
Luke, you're going out on a high with that one. That has flummoxed us all.
Well, that's why I wrote it down. Couldn't believe it myself.
Did you just make it up? Is that
I
did. Luke, thank you. You're tuning in to Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org.
Aguero, Solskjaer, Deeney, Watkins. Sure, you know all about those last-minute goals, but have you heard the one about the on-loan goalkeeper who saved his temporary employers from disappearing out the Football League and into almost certain financial oblivion? Back in 1999, Carlisle United, managed by Nigel Pearson, were fighting to stay in the Football League. Carlisle's finances were precarious with a capital P that season, leading to a scenario where, with 3 games to go, they had to ask the FA to sanction an emergency loan deal to bring in a goalkeeper. Swindon Town's Jimmy Glass arrived at the club. His efforts in his first 2 games earned the Cumbrians 2 draws. Those vital points meant that Carlisle went into their final game of the Division 3 season, now League 2, needing to beat mid-table Plymouth Argyle in front of their own fans and hope their relegation rival Scarborough didn't win against Peterborough at home. The game at the McCain Stadium finished 1-1, and with the same scoreline at Brunton Park deep into injury time, Scarborough's fans invaded the pitch en masse, believing their Football League status was secure, convinced they'd done enough to stay up. However, there'd be one more plot twist. Carlisle won a corner in the dying seconds, and up came Jimmy Glass. In one of those you couldn't make it up moments, Glass scored from a rebounded header and was promptly swamped by teammates and thousands of fans who quite simply couldn't believe what they'd just witnessed. As for Jimmy Glass, he became an overnight celebrity, but he never played for Carlisle again, and his playing career never really kicked on after that defining moment. He took on various jobs outside of football before finding his way back into the sport as player liaison officer at Eddie Howe's Bournemouth, and most recently the general manager at non-league Wimborne. Not the fairy tale ending to one of the most Hollywood moments in football, but the name Jimmy Glass will live on forever as the scorer of that goal, arguably the most important in any club's history.
Good evening, this is Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. Coming up this hour, we're going to be chatting Brentford and their window, Chelsea buying everyone, and Liverpool, who seem to be winning the transfer window so far. We're also going to chat Sunderland, Gibbs White, and much, much more as well. It is Natalie, Sawyer and Rory Jennings with you, and this is Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. Right. Here we go. Lots then for us to get through in the next couple of hours before the Sports Bar comes your way at 10. And Rory, we've got to address some of your comments that were made on Saturday evening, if you don't mind.
I'm very intimidated about this conversation.
Are you?
Yeah.
Intimidated?
Yeah, genuinely.
Why intimidated?
Because I don't know if I've seen a reaction like it. Genuinely. You know, like, on all of the things that I've ever spoken about. Okay. Like, you know, you go back, like, something that was fairly poignant and seemed to garner reaction prior to Erling Haaland kicking a ball in the Premier League.
I know where you're going.
You know where I'm going, yeah. Mm-hmm. I mentioned that I didn't necessarily think that he was suited to Premier League football, which was about as wrong as you could be. But the part of the reason and the justification for that was I was just burned by what I'd seen previously by Timo Werner, somebody who had a great track record from the Bundesliga. You know, Kai Havertz had come in from the Bundesliga and had been fairly underwhelming at Chelsea as well. Jadon Sancho had arrived from the Bundesliga, so I wasn't sure that the correlation for doing it in Germany was going to translate. And as is completely correct, I got a lot of grief, and rightly placed grief, off the back of my assertion that Haaland wouldn't land.
Yeah.
This has gone beyond that.
Yeah, it has. I mean, we'll play it out in just a moment as to what exactly we're talking about. But before we do that, This isn't a strip show, by the way, but I wanted to know if this gives you the ick. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm putting it on. I'm putting on my Brentford top. Don't you worry, guys. I've got you all. I've got your backs. I had to do it. Does it give you ick?
No, far from it. I can't believe how chivalrous I was. I thought you were cold. I offered to put the volume. I offered to put the temperature up.
You did. I thought, nah, I'm having him. I'm having him now. Yes. Look, as I say, it all centres on football shirts, and in particular, wearing them at games. For more detail, let's take you back to Saturday when Rory was on kick-off with Max Scott, and this is what he had to say about football shirts.
To be totally honest with you, I don't understand why anyone over the age of about 12 is wearing a football kit at any point in their life anyway. This isn't about what name you have on the back. This is about the choice of top that you're choosing to wear as you leave your house.
That is outrageous. If you support your football team, if you're passionate about your football team, you can't blame a fully grown adult for wanting to wear that shirt with pride.
Yeah, I massively do. I think it's a weird way to feel that that's how you have to show your support for
it. You don't have to.
No, it's a weird way that you feel that's how you have to do it.
So
that's
you've never worn a Chelsea shirt in your adult life? You tell me that.
I've played football in one.
No. You've never worn it to a game?
No, I've never worn it in public. I've never worn it out. I've never worn it on the tube. I've never worn it to work. I've never worn it anywhere social.
Are you ashamed of being a Chelsea fan?
No, it's not about that. I've demonstrated my love of Chelsea in many ways, primarily by following my team home and away and abroad. Going to Japan to watch Chelsea play would be a way. Going to America to watch Chelsea play would be a way that I've demonstrated my love of Chelsea. I would do that with a pin badge, generally in the top collar of a polo shirt. I've got no intention of ever playing fancy dress. That's where I got it wrong.
The fancy dress line. Do you think you went too far?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to apologise then?
I mean, I can't really apologise because they are my words. I can't.
But you can regret. You can say I misjudged that one. I shouldn't have said that.
I possibly could have phrased it in a kinder way. I just got slightly carried away with what I was saying. But ultimately, everything I said was I do stand by. Like I wouldn't wear a kit to a game, for example. But equally, I don't particularly care when other people do. That's where it's gone wild.
Yeah,
I don't particularly care when other people do. I just wouldn't do that. And it's not how I choose to pledge my support to.
So you don't look down on those that wear a football shirt at a game, for example?
No, I wouldn't. I certainly wouldn't look down. I just wouldn't do it myself.
Okay.
It's just not what I would choose to wear, and it's certainly not a way that I would go about my day dressed as an athlete.
Okay, let's fast forward. As an athlete.
Dressed up, yeah.
Athlete. Trying to steer around the fancy dress. Yeah, here we were going this. Let's fast forward to how many kids? Two kids. That one of them makes it.
Oh no, my daughter wears a Chelsea shirt regularly with Clementine 5 on the back. I fully endorse that decision. I bought it for her.
Yeah, but I know you have no problem with children. My point is, let's say one Clementine gets to be a lioness. Oh, you see a lot of the families wearing shirts with, as it would be, Jennings perhaps on the back.
I would be full of pride.
Would you be doing that?
I wouldn't wear the kit, no. I'd be, how old I'd be 60 odd. I wouldn't be wearing a kit at 60. No.
That's showing your love and support.
I wouldn't be doing that. That's not how I would choose to show the love and support. I mean, I would be full of pride and totally supportive. But I just don't. I feel like the football culture here is, and English football sporting culture, I think is very unique in as much as, so I was in Dortmund for the England game. The Dutch all dress up. It's kind of the way that they do it. I think clubs even in England do it. I think Arsenal are shirt wearers, Newcastle United are shirt wearers. I think Borussia Dortmund really take great pride in the yellow wall and all wearing. Mm-hmm. I just think that there is a culture here that doesn't necessarily conform that way. It's not that they're less supportive, it's just done in a slightly different way. I think Liverpool, for example, it would be done via a scarf held aloft rather than homogeneously dressing the same. It's just a slightly different culture.
Yeah, okay. I understand where you're coming from that side of things, but obviously, and we have to stress, you're talking about yourself. You're not talking about other people, so you don't care if other people are wearing a football shirt, for example. But for me, I must say, when I go to Brentford, I don't tend to wear a football shirt to Brentford home games, but away games, I might more because I kind of like the idea of showing we're all united together. Yeah, and the only problem you might have is you get a mixture of away shirts and home.
You can't get in the pubs either in that circumstance.
But yeah, that's true. But there are pubs that will allow away fans in.
I would just say that, and again, this could be a Chelsea thing. Everything that I say is kind of through the lens of being a Chelsea fan. When I go, so say I'm at Euston before Chelsea play away, and it's a really busy station. I can identify who's Chelsea fans anyway, whether or not they're wearing club kits. I feel
how can you do that?
I feel like it's quite obvious to me who are football fans who are. I think there is often an identifiable quality about football fans when they're traveling.
But then I quite like it when you go, oh look, he's got a Brentford shirt on. He's got a Brentford shirt on.
Yeah,
they're travelling wherever we're travelling to.
If West Ham, for example, West Ham are playing Tottenham away, and you're at Liverpool Street, West Ham fans will be going to Tottenham. There will be 3,000 of them. Almost none will wear a shirt. Literally almost none. And the person that is in a shirt, it's almost the revealing quality that they're not quite part of what they think they're part of. I would say that it's actually the identifier that you're not part of it. Tottenham when they're going to West Ham, Tottenham when they're going to Chelsea, they almost don't wear kits. There's nothing wrong with doing it. I wouldn't partake, but I don't necessarily think that it makes you as in as it's supposed to do.
Yeah, it did blow up, didn't it?
Blew up. I've literally never known a reaction like
you
it.
upset a lot of people. A lot of people who've parted a lot of money. They're not cheap, these shirts.
No.
But that's their way of showing their support. And also, not everyone can go to every single home and away game. So maybe it's when they do buy a football shirt and they do get to go to a game, it's their chance to show off that this is it.
Yeah.
I'm embedded in. Not only am I here at the game, I've got the kit on as well, and especially when you're having to invest season on season with them.
Three times a year.
Yeah,
so you can save yourself a fortune and be like me.
Be the Grinch over there. Don't be the Grinch. Wear your shirt with pride. You're tuning in to Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org. Good evening, this is Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT's Rory Jennings and Natalie Sawyer with you until 10 this morning. And on the way, we will bring you the very latest on Liverpool and get you a Liverpool fan's perspective with news that Luis Diaz set to be leaving to head to the Bundesliga. We're also going to be talking about Sunderland and how they've been spending their money with their return to the Premier League, of course, this coming season. We'll also focus on Rory's Chelsea in a short while too, but right now we're going to talk about my club, Brentford, whose shirt I wear with pride right now. It's been a funny old summer for us, Rory, it has to be said.
First time actually since your promotion. It's the first time that there's ever really been any conversation around Brentford in a negative light. Up until this point, it's felt like everything that you've touched has turned to gold. Like you've been the Midas of the Premier League. It's been very impressive, and suddenly it feels like there's genuine jeopardy around Brentford's stay in the Premier League. Does it feel like that from within?
I think, do you know what it is? Obviously, most fans have to remain optimistic. You've got to, haven't you? You've got to trust that the board have made the right decisions with bringing in, for example, Keith Andrews as our head coach. I think some of us when it was rumoured that he was linked with the job, we were thinking, come on now, you're not going to go with Keith Andrews. You're going to go with some unusual name, for example. For some reason, that's what we all expected. But we have to believe that they've chosen him for obviously all the right reasons, and that they have seen something in him around the training ground that they feel he is ready to make that step up. But it is a step up because he was our set-piece coach. A set-piece coach that had gone for an interview at MK Dons and hadn't got the job, for example, this summer. So I'm led to believe. What I will also say is that I don't think a set-piece coach just does set-pieces. I think there's more to it than that. There's more elements of coaching involved. So like I say, I imagine that they'll have seen something in him that they think, he's got the quality to bring out the best.
Was it a worry for you at all? That, you know, when Thomas Frank left, it felt like he took an awful lot with him to Tottenham. He really did. He really did go back to Brentford to make sure that he took everything that he wanted. Yeah. It seems like he didn't take... The one thing he left is now your manager. He didn't take Keith Andrews.
Yeah, but that might be because at that point maybe they... Look, the Thomas Frank thing was dragging on for a while. I think he knew that he was leaving for Tottenham a lot earlier than it all really became clear. Yeah. So I imagine at that point they'd already started speaking to Keith Andrews. I think they'd spoken to Justin Cochrane, who ended up going to Spurs as well. So I think, of course, there was a fear that, one, he's taken so many of our staff and wanted more as well, from what I'm led to believe, but we had to sort of at some point say no more. But they obviously felt that Keith has done enough and persuaded him that you can be our man, so you don't need to go with him. Yeah. That's not to say that Thomas Frank wanted him. I don't know that as fact. But you're right, this is the first summer we're going into a season, for me, as a Brentford fan, with an unknown, not knowing what on earth is going to happen. Now, that's not to say we were cocky every other time, but I never felt like we're going to be in a relegation dogfight. Yeah, this year, don't know.
It does feel like that. Like, you know, if you were to say any team, any team, you know, far with maybe far deeper pockets or far more tradition of being in the top flight. If you were to do this to any team, take the manager, take the two top goal scorers worth 40 goals, and take the captain. If you were to take all of that out of any team, like if you were to do that to Liverpool, who won the league. If you were to do that to Arsenal, who got to the Champions League semi-final, if you do that to Chelsea, who just won the Club World Cup, if you were to take the manager plus the two top goal scorers and the captain out of that team, it would have a drastic impact on the huge. How can you even? Like, I just don't know how you can ride it. Is the dream here that there's just going to be three worse teams?
Well, I guess so. I mean, funnily enough, I was thinking about it on the way in and thinking this might be the season where 17th will be fine.
Victory, yeah, absolutely.
That would work. And do you know what? Ever since our promotion, we've never been in the bottom three. Never. Which is a huge feat for a club of our size, for a club that clearly has never been in the Premier League, and you've got to go back to the 1930s for the last time we were in the top flight, for goodness sake. So most of us as Brentford fans have never experienced what we're experiencing right now. But you know what? We're going into our 5th season. No one expected us to have 5 seasons in the Premier League. Everyone expected us to go straight back down. But yeah, like I say, this is the first time, like you've mentioned, some key people leaving, not just the manager and his staff that he's taken, but Brian Mbeumo, who I absolutely adore. Christian Norgard, obviously. Mark Flecken, our goalkeeper, has left. He's gone out to Germany. Okay, we've brought in Kevin Kelleher, which I'm delighted about. The potential that Johan Wissa is going to be going too. There's all talk about other players rumoured to be linked. You know, Nathan Collins is a defender that many are suggesting have been looked at by others too. But I think at some point, like I mentioned earlier, with Newcastle fans wanting the window to shut, I think our board will at some point have to go, enough is enough. Yeah. We can't leave him with a threadbare squad, which then means we've got to bring in personnel to boost the team as well, which, as I mentioned, we brought in Kelleher, we brought in Malambo from the Netherlands as well. They're going to have to find a Brian Mbeumo replacement of some sort, which is impossible. Yeah. But you know what? I'm delighted for him in the sense of what a servant he has been for us.
Do you wish him well? Yeah. Is he a player that you leave and wish well?
There aren't many that I think good riddance to you. The Johan Wissa thing, if it's going out the way, if it's panning out the way that some are suggesting, that's not great if a player doesn't want to, you know, even turn up for training, for example, or pre-season. But with the Wissa situation, I'm not sure how much of that really is true. Like this suggestion of we promised that he could go for 26 million last summer. Well, it'd be pretty foolish of any club to set a price on somebody before you even know what they're going to achieve the following season.
Also, the amount that
release clause.
Yeah, of course. You know, I saw something like Brentford want. I think the headline was something along the lines of Brentford want 40 million for Wissa. You're like, Well, of course they do. Like, that's completely market value. Like, what do you mean? Like, that's not a headline or a shocking statement. Brentford want 40 million. Like, I think that's a fairly paltry amount for him anyway, when you think about the goals that he scored. Think about the guarantee for goals that he is, the fact that he's Premier League proven. When you look at what's going on in the market, Brentford want 40 million. I mean, I think Brentford are completely correct to want 40 million for him.
Yeah.
I can't really see how that's even controversial. And I think there was a talk that Newcastle would bid 25.
Yeah.
Nobody's 25. You know, like...
I mean, that's just cheap. Far too cheap to even think about putting that. It's cheeky, really. It's going back to the Luis Suarez Arsenal day, isn't it?
But what's he done? He's left the training... Like, you're in Portugal, I think, and he's just
we're in Portugal. I think we're back tomorrow, but supposedly he was there and was then sort of sent back because he wasn't in the right frame of mind. So reports are saying, and certainly he's not been involved in Portugal, but I'm not entirely sure, like I say, of all of the rumours that are being talked about with him. I don't know how much the stirring of the pot comes from the agent. I don't know how much the stirring of the pot comes from the North East, for example, because, listen, it happens in football. Other clubs, other people like to cause the mayhem, to cause the disruption so that it forces the hand of the selling club, for example. I'm not saying this is exactly what's happening with Newcastle. I'm just saying that as a general conversation. But look, I think it would be... They always said they were never going to sell Isak and Burma in the same window. Although, as you say, 40 million plus, it might get to a point where they think, actually, that's quite a lot of money for a player who's still only 28. I mean, he's not old by any means, but Brian Burma is only 25, 26, so I can see why he went for more, as we all know. It's just how we improve that squad, and you've got to set Keith Andrews up in the right way. You can't set him up for a fall.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
I mean, this is the problem. As things stand with what's gone on, like Norgard, I don't think that's spoken about enough. Losing him, the goals that he scored last season, like he was a brilliant player.
Yeah,
and symbolically, your captain.
Yeah, massive.
Like that figure in the dressing room would be worth his weight in gold to Keith Andrews.
I mean, that one. When that happened, I couldn't believe it. I just never saw that on the cards that we'd be selling Christian Norgard. He only signed a new contract, I think, in March. But that being said, they brought in Jordan Henderson, who I see obviously is the sort of Norgard replacement. He's going to have that experience that we're lacking now that Norgard's gone, because we still have a relatively young squad, and a few of those players are a little bit untested because they've either been injured or haven't really had game time last season, for example, when they joined us. And I think he's coming in to, as I say, bring that experience, bring that game management. I think is so important in football. So important. And as I said before, when I talked about this with Tony Cascarino on the Breakfast Show on the weekend, didn't see him on our radar at all. Jordan Henderson was not a player I thought we'd even look at based on his age. But the more I think about it, the more I think you've lost a huge figure in Christian Norgard, like you've mentioned, who is so brilliant. So brilliant. And it really annoyed me when I heard people just so dismissive of him because he comes from Brentford.
A good player.
He's a really good player. And you said it as well. He pops up, especially at set pieces, to score goals, but also is a disruptor in the pitch, can do those tactical fouls when you need them.
Brand Premier League proven.
And now Premier League proven as well. And I think Arsenal have got a bargain there.
I do as well.
So, look.
I can't see how it's going to... Brentford are actually one of the stories of the season because I can't predict. I have no idea. Like, I could see, well, I don't know, Jordan Henderson will be manager by Christmas. You know, it's like, it's
you never know.
There is potential there, isn't there? It's you really are going into the unknown here.
Yeah, and this is it. This is why, and that's why I find it very hard to even talk about how we're going to play, where we're going to end up in the league, because I don't know what Keith Andrews' style is going to be. We've had only one pre-season friendly so far. I wasn't able to watch it in full, so I couldn't even tell you about the full setup, because again, it was only... 1-11 in the first 45, a different 11 in the second, as they always do. So you can't even glean anything from it. So, I think, don't get me wrong, I get why people are backing us to go down because of the fact it's such a different time for us coming into this season. But equally, I'm sort of thinking, well, we're not a stupid club.
No, sensible, clever club. One of the better run clubs in the country. Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they've kind of done all their homework when it comes to Keith Andrews. Also, bear in mind, Thomas Frank was a promotion from inside.
Yeah.
Mark Warburton was a promotion from inside as well. It's only really Dean Smith in between Warburton and Thomas Frank. There was an outsider that came in, and obviously we did our homework on him too, like everyone does. So kind of hoping that we've done enough to see that we can, as
you need a big start. You need points on the board early. It needs to go well early.
Got some tough games.
You've got us. You've got Chelsea and Fulham
It's tough.
Back to back. That's two of your biggest games of the season, there, isn't it? Chelsea and Fulham back to back.
Yeah.
All before the 20th of September.
Well, we start with Forest away.
Forest away, yeah.
Not easy.
Yeah, you need points on the board early, and you're right. It's
Forest
not
away,
a good start.
Villa at home. Then we got Sunderland.
Sunderland away, though. Yeah.
That's not going to be. You're right. You're right. You know what? Come that first international break in September, that's going to be the big sort.
We'll know. Yeah.
Where
Exciting
Brentford
times.
are at. You say that.
It's interesting times then. Interesting.
Well, I
For
should
Brentford,
also bring it up, Rory, I know in the past you've said that we don't deserve to be in the Premier League, or we shouldn't be in the Premier League.
I was taken out of context.
No, you weren't. I heard you say it, and I was riled by it.
I know. I was intimidated. What I said was, I always like the big clubs in the Premier League. I like to see the likes of Sunderland. I'm a Chelsea fan. Chelsea and Leeds are big rivals. There's a generation of Chelsea fans that will tell you Leeds are our biggest rival, and I certainly don't wish any success on Leeds, but I want them in the Premier League. I think they bring a lot to the Premier League. Culturally, the Premier League is a better, richer place to have the likes of Leeds United. I want Sunderland to stay up. I'd like Sheffield Wednesday in the Premier League. I like those big,
just like the
prestigious,
prime Barclays era.
The big, prestigious clubs with historic tradition and great support. And Brentford.
And I do understand that. I do understand what you're coming from, other than the fact of, but that's not football.
No. I have nothing but respect for the pyramid, and Brentford have earned their place. I just think the Premier League would be a better place without them. Sorry, I didn't mean it like this. See, this is what happens to me. You see what
just
happens?
don't think, do you?
No, it just happens, and then I go, I don't mean it like that. But the Premier League would be...
because for the first time last season you beat us at Stamford Bridge.
Finally.
Yeah, that's where this all stems from. I know, I get it. Listen, at the end of the day, there's a reason we have promotion, there's a reason we have relegation. You haven't always been a top flight club. Let's not forget that as well.
No, absolutely.
You've had to do the hard graft to get to where you are.
No doubt.
Plus the big bucks that have helped as well. Let's not forget. But anyway, I think both of us are a bit unclear of where Brentford are going to end up, in the sense of we just need to see a few games of the season to kind of work out.
Yeah.
Was it all Thomas Frank, or was it more to?
In a few years' time, we could look at the Keith Andrews appointment, and it could have been a masterclass, or it could be one of those. It could be one of those comical appointments that's laughed at and is used as almost a punchline to say, "Don't give your set piece coach the keys to the kingdom." It will be one or the other, won't it? It will be an astute appointment that history is very kind to, or it's going to be painted in like a horrible colour for eternity. Time will tell.
You know what it is? It's like some people saying a goalkeeper can't be a manager. Nuno's done all right at Forest.
Exactly.
The physio and Nigel Adkins, he didn't do too badly.
There we go.
As a manager too. So, there are sometimes...
Can be done.
You can make that step up. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. I might be living in La La Land. Who knows? Right. I'll tell you what, not many people would have thought that Arne Slot would have made the impact he did at Liverpool in his first season. We are going to be talking Liverpool next. Yes, good evening. This is Transfer Insiders here on talkSPORT with Rory, Jennings and Natalie. So we're with you until you've got the Sports Bar coming up at 10. But before we focus on Liverpool, just want to take a moment to tell you listeners about a brand new podcast that's been brought to you by our very own Andy Goldstein and Jason Cundy. It's 21 minutes to go. Each week, these two talkSPORT legends tackle listener questions and go, it's fair to say, in absurd directions. All sorts of tangents do they go off on. Episode 3 has just dropped. It's exactly 21 minutes of pure nonsense.
Has he ever seen a baby pigeon?
I don't think we have.
What do you mean we? You talking on behalf of me now? Or you royal we?
The royal we. I don't know whether I have. They must exist, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But they're all... Here's the thing about pigeons in London.
Yeah.
Have a look at their toes. I've had this conversation. Have a look at their toes,
You've
right?
had this conversation with me.
Right. Have a look at the pigeon's toes, right?
If
a pigeon...
3 toes.
They've got 3 on each foot.
Leg.
Their feet.
Yeah.
Their feet or claws, what are they called?
Yeah.
Right? You look at how many don't have all their toes.
Yeah, go on, how do you know this?
Because I walk around London looking at pigeons' toes.
Do you know what? He's absolutely right.
Yeah.
There's a pigeon near me.
What,
He's a local.
What, friends of one?
Promise you he's local.
Mate of yours.
I see him every now and then and he limps. And
really?
I'm like, because he's got a dodgy little claw.
No. Do you know what it used to be? It used to be the lid. You know when you used to peel the entire lid off a
can?
Coke can?
Yeah.
That used to really mess with the pigeon's
Goodness,
foot.
we've changed it then.
Yeah, thank God, absolutely. Nobody wants to see a limping pigeon. It's upsetting. It is. I'm serious. It's,
you know what?
It's damaging
What
to the
I
soul.
saw, where I live, which is in London, obviously seagulls still
Yeah, they're
fly
big.
around.
Too big.
They attack pigeons.
Yeah, they're too big.
And I've seen, I've been there shouting it through the windows, let me go!
One of the worst things I've ever seen in my whole life, and it will haunt me forever. It happened on the Kilburn High Road, and I saw a pigeon get run over. It was the biggest thing I've ever seen get hit. It was, yeah, it haunts me now. It happened over a decade ago.
Oh, I don't know.
Happened over a decade ago. I think about it once a day. It was honestly one of the most...
Isn't that weird? It's like just a flashback.
It's like a
in your
pterodactyl getting hit by a lorry. It was, honestly, it was like the worst. It's like a pterodactyl. You know the wingspan on it? It's like an albatross, man.
Are we talking about a seagull or a pigeon?
Seagull.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's not good.
Seagull getting run over. You wouldn't believe the carnage.
No.
I had to close the road and that.
Oh.
It's a busy road, man. It's the edge of the road. It's a busy road.
I mean, who knew we'd end up talking about pigeons? But this is the beauty of that podcast. It's bite-sized. It's full of personality. It's 21 minutes to go. Available wherever you get your podcasts. And believe me, once it gets to 21 minutes, it's off. So whatever they're talking about, it's gone. You won't necessarily hear the end of that conversation. Right. From a club that might struggle next season, that is Brentford, who we were just talking about, because we're still unsure, to a club that everyone is expecting is perhaps just going to get better and better. They have been really, really hot in this transfer window, really boosting Arne Slot's squad. Joining us to talk about Liverpool, it is co-host of the Liverpool Unfiltered podcast, Mike Quill. Mike, evening. How you doing?
Evening. Yeah, I'm doing really well. I was just enjoying the pigeon chat, to be honest. Thrilling stuff, to be fair. One-legged pigeons knocking about London. I'll have to head down.
Well, we can carry on talking about that if you want.
Attraction.
You know, yeah.
I mean, it's not much is happening at Liverpool at the moment, so I've got no problem. If you want to talk about pigeons, I'll talk about that all day with you. How are you two getting on though? Okay.
Oh, we are fine. We're all good, thank you. Like I was saying, I mean, I mentioned it earlier on, and a lot of people say it, that Liverpool are just strengthening from a position of power, and why wouldn't they? It's the best time to do it. Strike when the iron is hot. Just in general, how much are you enjoying what's happening this summer with your club?
Well, it's frighteningly wonderful. You know, I think I look at Liverpool and, you know, we've always been sort of, especially during the Premier League sort of era, we've been cast as a team that we do our best to pull these big names. We haven't really got them over the line in the past. You know, you can go all the way back to the likes of, you know, whether it's Malouda at Chelsea, whether it's keeping Torres, Chelsea taking them, whether, you know, you can always go to now as well and look at Caicedo as well as another example. We go for the big names. They don't always come, but what Liverpool are known for is taking a good name and making them great. You know, I can go on forever about that. But it seems like in the market, we've been probably the most aggressive I've seen it in my lifetime. It's akin to Mourinho at Chelsea, or what Fergie did a lot at United, or even just early days of City, in the sense where they've got a list of targets and they've been able to, you know, gazump everyone at every attempt, at every corner. 48-hour turnarounds on one or two players as well. So it has been fantastic to see. There is obviously a slight nervousness that comes with it because you've seen teams do it in the past where maybe it hasn't worked out so well. But honestly, I come from a place of optimism. I look at the signings we've made. They've been well thought out. They haven't been panics or trying to just get a name for the sake of a name. They make sense in what I think Arne Slot is trying to build at Liverpool.
And in terms of what's next, Mike, is there all the focus feels like it's on Alexander Isak. Now, when you look at Liverpool in a forward-thinking capacity, it feels like you've got enough goals in the team already. It feels like you're going to be absolutely fine for finding the back of the net. Do you think that the priority is actually, as much as the statement would be made by signing Isak, do you feel like the priority should be bringing in perhaps centre-half, maybe Mark Gahey?
Well, I look at that and I do think a centre-back is essential, and Gay, he's one of the best in the country. He's definitely one of the best that England have. But I think, as I say, you've strengthened from a position of strength. I think there's something you've been quoting about Gerrard a lot recently is fix the roof when the sun's shining.
Yeah, that's right. It's a great quote.
So, it's a fantastic one. I think it's what we're doing. And to be honest, I feel like what we're essentially doing is we're squad proofing for when Salah eventually declines or departs. If Salah leaves, clubs will look at Liverpool as a feasting ground. Okay, we can charge them 20, 30 million more and try and wring us dry, and you can see potential panic in the market. What I think we've done is we are planning for that now, whether it's Ekitike, Isak, Wirtz. These are three players that for the next 5 years can produce those moments that Salah has produced for the last 8 or 9. Now, a centre-back is absolutely priority. Liverpool financially are certainly in no trouble, even if we are to get Isak over the line, which you have to give credit to the owners for. But I do think we sign a centre-back before the end of the window, but Isak is one of those signings where, how often do you have a player his quality where it's just a single club having a clear run at it? It doesn't happen often, and it is the difference really between winning a Champions League and getting to a final, that kind of striker.
So let's imagine you get Alexander Isak done. Sorry, Newcastle fans, I know they don't want us mentioning this, and I get it completely. Do you feel like it's just job done and then it's just formality that the Premier League is yours? But do you think that?
Yeah. Well, no, I see. It'd be naive to think that, but it's a good way of thinking, I suppose. I know that's absolutely rightfully so. What I think a lot of media will run with, including Liverpool's own, side of things. When your team is that strong, there is a certain expectation that comes with it. But the Premier League is so unpredictable. Last year, City were favourites for the league, rightfully so. No one could have predicted Rory, who's got one of the best fitness records that you could have for a player of his position, disappear for 3/4 of the season. You can't say that Wirtz, Isak, two players who have had injury issues, in their history, Wirtz in his recent history, you can't guarantee they will be there. So absolutely we are favourites at going into it, but I definitely could not say that the Premier League's wrapped up in a bow, although I'd want to.
Do you have any thoughts, Mike, on, let's say everybody's fit as things stand, so we won't bring Alexander Isak into this conversation yet. How do you line up? Where's Ekitike going to play? What are you expecting to see from Florian Wirtz? What impact is that going to have on, say, Dominic Szoboszlai's place in the team, if in fact that is the place that he takes? How do you see Liverpool lining up, say the front line at least?
Well, I think it's essentially what Slot has done and Klopp has done, and what Liverpool have done a lot in the market quite often is we sign multi-purpose players. So Szoboszlai can technically play as a 6, an 8 or a 10. Most likely an 8 or a 10. Very unlikely you'll ever see him as 6. McAllister the same, Gravenberch more so a 6 and an 8. Ekitike could play as a second striker, a lone striker, a false 9 out on the left. Wirtz again, false 9 out on the left as a 10. I think it's a game by game basis. It's very hard to. Rory, you're a Chelsea fan. You'll know this as well as I do. Rotation is key to success in certain moments of the season, especially when you get around that December period. Each game is going to bring a different sort of need. For example, let's say you go play Sunderland away. That is going to be a ruthless game. You're not going to be able to play the most beautiful football, but what you are going to need is someone in the box who can make something happen. Okay, Isak's your 9, Wirtz is your 10. Maybe you just need energy in midfield. Okay, Wirtz will move you out to the left. We'll have Szoboszlai, Mac, Grav in the midfield. It's dependent on the game state, really. What it does allow us is in those moments where we are up against, a deep line blocker, we are against maybe even an Arsenal. We think Arsenal defensively, one of the best in the world for the last few seasons. At times, teams have really struggled to break them down. Well, if it's not working with game plan A, we now have game plan B. We now have game plan C. And that's what these players bring. And I think it's really easy to go, well, how does Ekitike, Isak, Wirtz, Szoboszlai, Salah fit into this 11? Well, we play 2 games a week. If we're trying to manage Salah's minutes, I think obviously you probably won't need any help with that. But if we are, brilliant, we can rotate around. You throw Frimpong in the equation as well, because when Salah goes off to AFCON, I can guarantee you Frimpong starts the game on the right. So it's just a very interesting position to be. I think Slot tactically is one of the strongest managers in the league. I don't think that's, biased to say that. I think he's shown that last year. I think he's shown that at Feyenoord. So it is going to be very interesting to see. I think we'll get an interesting indication of our overall style change going into sort of the Community Shield and first couple of weeks of the season. I think mainly what people are going to be stunned by is how we use our fullbacks compared to last year, because obviously I think Trent was playing almost as an extra midfielder at times, sort of deep, breaking teams up with these long passes. Bradley is a complete 180 of that. He's a classic right back in a lot of ways, in terms of he will stick to the touchline. But the way we've been using Bradley in pre-season and at the back end of last season is we were playing him right in between the left centre back and the left back, and what that was doing, that was occupying an extra man, which was allowing the likes of Salah or McAllister or Gravenberch to come into these occupying spaces, and it was causing chaos there. You see Hakimi do it at PSG. So honestly, it's hard to predict. I've kind of gone off on a tangent there, but I just think it's a very exciting time for Liverpool and anyone who likes the little niches of the game, I suppose. So it's just nice to watch, I think.
One of the players we were actually speaking about before we came on air was Harvey Elliott, and what happens with him. A really brilliant player, had a great tournament at the under-21s this summer as well. Suggestions that he might move on, and even for his career that he might need to move on, just because you've just packed with players in that Liverpool squad. So how sad would it be to see someone like Harvey Elliott leave?
I personally would be gutted. I think he's a tremendous character. He's so optimistic, even with the limited game time he's had last year. He seems very well liked in the dressing room. I know it's very clear him and Mo Salah have a close relationship. And I think that's when a player of that quality takes a like to you, it's not just because you're a nice guy. It's because you apply yourself in training. It's because you have quality. And it'd be devastating to see him go. But he is the type of player that I think if he gets 30 games starting in the Premier League, a lot of people will change their tune on him. He's got that quality in him. He could be a key man for I've seen West Ham willing to him. With no disrespect to West Ham, Harvey Elliott belongs in Europe at an extent, even at this level he's currently at. I could see him doing very well at Spurs. I've seen that link. I could see him doing very well at Newcastle. It's just someone to give him the opportunity, and I really do think you've got a phenomenal young player in there if given the right coaching and the right time to develop.
And so, cards on the table. Let's actually drill down into this now, Mike. People are talking about the best ever transfer window. We're talking about the champions who are champions for a reason, having the best window of all time. What are you anticipating seeing next season? I think retaining the league. Liverpool haven't retained the league since 1982, so something historic in that sense. But are you dreaming of lifting the European Cup in Budapest as well? Like where do you see next season going for Liverpool?
I think if I want to live in a poetic world, I look at Kirkes, I look at Szoboszlai, I think lifting it in Budapest would be a very interesting thing. I do think Champions League, Premier League, we have the quality and depth where we should say from the start, we want to win both. We should win both, or we should be running close for both. If everyone stays fit and we somehow manage to get Isak over the line, obviously nothing's guaranteed, then I would expect us to run close, if not definitely retain the title. Champions League's very hard to call. PSG are a phenomenal side. Barcelona were very unlucky to not make the final last year. I think we were robbed in a way. I think a PSG Barca final would have been highlight the last 3-4 years of Europe. But so you never know what they're going to pull. I'd like to see us go very far in it, but you can never predict it. I know I'm kind of dodging the questions, but what I will say is to say whether we've had a good transfer window is what happens in the next 12-18 months. So if you want, I'll call the club or I'll call talkSPORT. I don't mind, and I'll get back in contact with you and I'll let you know.
Well, I look forward to that. I look forward to that, Mike. I'll speak to you in when you never know. It could be early. You might have you might have something to show for it come the Carabao Cup final.
Well, Rory, invite me back on, mate. I'll debate you on any topic with football. You've skipped. Listen, I've got the shirt behind me. I didn't put it on. I didn't want to offend you. All right, it's hanging up. I'm not wearing
have this
it
all the time.
Yeah, no, I did see that. I can't imagine the flack you've received already. So I'll go light on that. But
well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's the first bit of mercy I've been shown for the past 24 hours.
Mike, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
That's Mike Quill, co-host of the Liverpool Unfiltered podcast. Just get your comment on Liverpool quickly. What do you think they're going to achieve?
Yeah, I really can't see anybody even coming close for the league. I think there's something that could change here. If Arsenal do something again fairly magnificent this window. So they've already signed Gyökeres, best in class centre forward, the highest goal scorer in Europe. So they've gone out and they've made that marquee signing. If they marry that decision up with a decision of similar quality, so say they go out and they sign Everton Eze, they were linked to Rodrigo at one point, say they go and they do something like that, then I think you could maybe talk about there being a real nip and tuck title race. But as things stand, even with the signing of Gyökeres, I honestly think Liverpool win the league by 15 points.
By 15?
I really do. Yeah, I really do. I think that they were dazzling last year, and they didn't really get out of third gear. They never could hear hooves in their ears. They never had to be brilliant. Like, you know when Liverpool didn't win the league and they finished second with 97 points?
Yes, yeah. No.
The reason that Man City hit 98 points is because they could hear hooves all the time. Somebody was chasing them, making them win, making them be brilliant. Liverpool never did that last year. They never had to. They were just clearly going to win the league, probably from that Brentford game, the Darwin Núñez game, in fact.
Yeah.
That was probably the day that they, in my opinion anyway, I wrote off a league title. It's like February or something. So I just think that they will win it early. I can't really see anybody getting close to them. But if Arsenal do something else, they already had a brilliant backline, Arsenal. They didn't score enough goals. They've brought in Gyökeres. If they can now bring in somebody like Everton Eze, then I think we have a title race. Without it, I just think Liverpool are going to run away with it. I really do.
Well, we're going to find out next what Rory thinks Chelsea will do next season. We'll cast our eye on the Blues of West London. You're listening into Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org. Monday, the 28th of July, and this is Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT with Rory Jennings and Natalie Sawyer. With you until 10 o'clock this morning, and look, we've talked about my club. I'm wearing my shirt with pride this evening. Rory, very understated in what? Salmon pink, shall we go for?
Yeah, we'll call it salmon pink.
Salmon pink. Nothing to do with Chelsea. But we'll talk about your club, Chelsea. You are the champions of the world. Surely that now means you're going to win everything.
And I don't think so, but I do think that it puts us in the conversation. I think it really is significant winning that trophy. I think a lot of people like to look down their nose at it. They don't necessarily see it as the statement victory that I believe it is. But I honestly believe that winning the Club World Cup, this formation of it, beating Paris Saint-Germain the way that we did in New York City, I do think that it should inspire. I do think that it will have an impact on next season. And if it wasn't for what I consider to be Liverpool's brilliance, I would say that we could win the league. I would say that we're in a title race. We're a few tweaks away. There are certain things that need to happen to the squad to make this a reality, but there's still some time to do that. Number one, I would say, I don't think we can win a league if Robert Sanchez is our number one keeper. I feel like we're going to need to improve on that. I feel like another centre-half would be great. this isn't how Chelsea operate, but I would love, for example, I know that there's no link and Chelsea don't do this. Chelsea aren't going to go and sign a player like Mark Gahey. But I think Mark Gahey is a sensational player. He's definitely England's best centre-half. And if you were to drop him into that Chelsea back line, I think all of a sudden there'd be an elevation there. I mean, I know, again, this won't happen, but let's pretend, when Luke Henry was in earlier and he was talking about Donnarumma potentially leaving Paris Saint-Germain. Again, it's not a Chelsea-type signing, but if Chelsea were to sign Donnarumma and Mark Gahey, I then think we talk about a title charge from us. An unlikely title charge. We'd be third, fourth favourites at best, but a title charge nonetheless.
Okay, so let's take you back to last season, where first part of the season started off really well. Everyone was talking about our Chelsea in this title race as well. I know Jason Cundy was pretty much all the time saying we're not in the title race. And I went to the Chelsea-Brentford game, which I think was in December, if memory serves me right, which they won 2-0. I think it was 2-1 it was, because we scored a late goal in that one. And I saw Jason afterwards and I said, you're in the title race, you're in the title race. No, we're not in the title. Were you of that thinking as well at that point?
No, I was the opposite.
You thought?
No, I was the opposite. Yeah, there was I certainly had an element of belief, and actually I think that we could have won the league last year. I really do. I think that there were some bad mistakes made.
So what happened?
I think Enzo Maresca said that we couldn't win the league. If I remember rightly, we went to Goodison Park couple of days before Christmas, and due to circumstance, do you remember Liverpool had a game? The Merseyside derby was called off because of a hurricane or something like that.
Right.
And because of circumstances, it meant that Liverpool didn't play. And if we had won, bearing in mind we're in December, if we had won, we would have gone top of the league. Liverpool would have had games in hand and whatever else, but we would have been top of the league, which is a symbolic statement. You go top of the league in December. Christmas Day, in fact, we would have been the team top of the league. But what happened was Maresca came out, and I think this was a huge mistake of his. And when you employ a manager from the Championship, you give them their first opportunity of being a Premier League manager, there's going to be a learning curve and mistakes are going to be made. But I certainly identify this as being a mistake. Enzo Maresca came out and said that Chelsea are not in a title race. He dismissed any chance of us winning the league. We drew 0-0 with Sean Dyche's Everton team. We then went on to lose to Fulham. We then went on to lose at Portman Road. And I think that saying that you're not in a title race, what I think it does is I think it can breed an element of complacency. And I think that was a mistake. And I know Jason was always very keen to say that Chelsea weren't in a title race, but I actually disagreed. I felt like there was a world where like the title was won by 84 points. It's not it's not an insurmountable amount. If Liverpool had hit 92, I would have gone, okay, that's anything that breaks a 90-point barrier, I feel like that's almost the definition of a great above 90. There was a world where Chelsea could have done it last year, and we're even better now.
But part of the reason it was a low points tally was because they'd won it so early on.
Liverpool took their foot off the gas, no doubt. Yeah. But the other side of that, you're completely correct. That is true. But the other side of that coin would be we never saw this Liverpool team under any kind of pressure.
Yeah.
Like if Chelsea had won earlier, say Chelsea were in a title race, or even if Arsenal had got their act together, if somebody had won and it meant that Liverpool went into a fixture where they had to win, that can be very destabilising. Like you're very when you have to win, you're more likely to lose. It's
pressure.
There was no pressure. At no point was anybody putting that Liverpool team under pressure. And sadly, the second that Enzo Maresca said Chelsea weren't in the title race, it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. We weren't.
Was also an element of maybe a lack of experience, leadership, like a Thiago Silva was massive for Chelsea, really.
Hugely. This is part of the problem with the Chelsea model, if you want to talk the way that people do these days. The way that Chelsea approach business under Clearlake, everything is to turn a profit. We sign players that we can ultimately sell for more money. That's the way that we operate. We don't sign experienced players with no sell-on value. So the days of Chelsea signing, I don't know, a player like Michael Ballack, somebody that comes in at 30, signing a player like Thiago Silva, who comes in well into his 30s to win a Champions League, those days are over, sadly. But yeah, if we could, if we could sign anyone, that's why we wouldn't sign Mark Gahey, because Mark Gahey is now not the model that we need. We need to sign the next Mark Gahey who will, we sign players like Nicholas Jackson, who, if rumours are to be believed, we potentially sell to Newcastle, doubling our money. That's how we sell players. That's what we do. So it's a shame, because again, that's something that we are massively lacking. And had we had that last year, what we've got is we've got so many young, unpredictable, prodigious talents. And in Cole Palmer, I believe that we have. I actually believe that we have a future Ballon d'Or winner. I really do. I think he's just. Really? Natalie,
he might be burnt out the way he's going.
Natalie, honestly though, I can't really compare this to anything aside from the true greats that I've been fortunate enough to witness in my life. So like the way I feel about Cole Palmer when he's in a Chelsea shirt, it makes me feel similar to how I felt when I was a kid and we had Ruud Gullit, when I was a kid and we had Gianfranco Zola, when I was a bit older and we had Arjen Robben, Eden Hazard. That's the company that I put Cole Palmer's name with. Like, he picks the ball up, he plays like almost like a 1970s maverick throwback footballer who could do a little bit of everything.
But aren't you
He plays
worried
by
that
his own rules.
he is shattered? He said he was shattered after the Euros, and he had an extremely brilliant season by his standards again for Chelsea. Then has gone into this Club World Cup. Then's got another season, got a World Cup. Loads of things that just makes you wonder: is he going to be burnt out?
I know there is that worry, but that's a conversation that we can have about every elite footballer at the moment. And I guess that the moving of the goalpost here is these players play so much football, they are burnt out. We expect so much from them. There's never an opportunity for their form to dip. To win the league, you have to hit 90 points. You have to basically be brilliant every game. But they are well rewarded now. There is a major carrot in terms of what they're trying to achieve. So, but with Cole Palmer in a team, anything is possible. When you think about those players over the years that have galvanised a team and taken a team to a league title, like you think about that Leicester team, there was a few, but Riyad Mahrez. When you think about what he did for that team, then you think about Cantona moving from Leeds, won the title of Leeds, take the title to Manchester United, kind of change Manchester United. If we can support Cole Palmer, what we have is a world-class player, like a genuine superstar, a true Hollywood footballer, someone who I just truly love and don't see a flaw in his game at all. If we can get him the right system, the right supporting cast, the reason we can't win the league isn't because of us, it's because of how strong I believe Liverpool to be. But let's say it doesn't go Liverpool's way. I think that we are capable of hitting a very respectable tally that could win a league title if it goes a little bit wrong for the three teams that are ahead of us in the queue. But by those three teams, I mean, obviously, Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool. We're going to need those three to fall away a touch. But we could hit 85 points. It's just I worry that 85 won't be enough. One of those three at least will hit more than 85 points.
Yeah, you would have thought so.
Yeah, I think it will be a big... I could see Liverpool hitting 90s. I really could. Do you remember the days when 90 made you a great? Whereas now it's kind of like it's kind of like I remember
last season was boring.
Jose Mourinho's team hit 95 points, and I just remember being totally bad. Like, we lost one game that season. I think Anelka scored against us at Man City, and I remember thinking 95 was just absolutely that will never be done again. It's kind of like the minimum now, isn't it? It's gone mad.
That's when you know you've had a pretty decent dominant season in some ways, although like you say, maybe it's because they were pushed and that's why it happens. But look, there's lots of rumours still circulating about Chelsea. Xavi Simons is one that's been linked. Alejandro Garnacho. There's
an example though of something, Natalie, that I don't necessarily think is conducive to Chelsea winning the league. I think Simons is a great player. He's a really good player, but his best position is a number 10. We have the best number 10 in the league, in my opinion. What we need is a new goalkeeper. What Xavi Simons will be is a player that will increase in value and we can sell him on. But what we need is a goalkeeper. What we need is a centre-half. What we need maybe is midfield cover. So they're good players, but I don't think they're good players that are going to bring a league title to Chelsea.
Garnacho, quickly on that one.
Do you know what? It's not even about him as a footballer. Like, you could tell me how good he is as a footballer, but the disrespect that he showed to the Manchester United manager, the office and status of Manchester United manager, I just think that you cannot have players like that around your club.
Yeah, Jadon Sancho.
Not by choice. I mean, we paid 5 million quid. We had 5 million quid. We paid 5 million quid to give him back. No, thank you.
All right then. Okay, well, that's Chelsea. On the way, we're going to discuss Sunderland, as of course they make a return to the Premier League and they've been spending. That's coming up next with Mickey Gray.
Aguero, Solskjaer, Deeney, Watkins. Sure, you know all about those last-minute goals, but have you heard the one about the on-loan goalkeeper who saved his temporary employers from disappearing out the Football League and into almost certain financial oblivion? Back in 1999, Carlisle United, managed by Nigel Pearson, were fighting to stay in the Football League. Carlisle's finances were precarious with a capital P that season, leading to a scenario where, with 3 games to go, they had to ask the FA to sanction an emergency loan deal to bring in a goalkeeper. Swindon Town's Jimmy Glass arrived at the club. His efforts in his first 2 games earned the Cumbrians 2 draws. Those vital points meant that Carlisle went into their final game of the Division 3 season, now League 2, needing to beat mid-table Plymouth Argyle in front of their own fans and hope their relegation rival Scarborough didn't win against Peterborough at home. The game at the McCain Stadium finished 1-1, and with the same scoreline at Brunton Park deep into injury time, Scarborough's fans invaded the pitch en masse, believing their Football League status was secure, convinced they'd done enough to stay up. However, there'd be one more plot twist. Carlisle won a corner in the dying seconds, and up came Jimmy Glass. In one of those you couldn't make it up moments, Glass scored from a rebounded header and was promptly swamped by teammates and thousands of fans who quite simply couldn't believe what they'd just witnessed. As for Jimmy Glass, he became an overnight celebrity, but he never played for Carlisle again, and his playing career never really kicked on after that defining moment. He took on various jobs outside of football before finding his way back into the sport as player liaison officer at Eddie Howe's Bournemouth, and most recently the general manager at non-league Wimborne. Not the fairy tale ending to one of the most Hollywood moments in football, but the name Jimmy Glass will live on forever as the scorer of that goal, arguably the most important in any club's history.
Good morning. This is Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT with me, Natalie Sawyer, and Rory Jennings. We're with you until 10, and then you've got the Sports Bar coming your way. Lots for us to get through in this final hour of the show, and right now we're going to cast our eye on one of the newbies making a return to the top flight, Sunderland, after they won promotion through the playoffs at the end of last season. And can they stop the rot of the 3 that come up or going straight back down that has been happening recently in the Premier League? Well, joining us to talk about all things Sunderland, knows the club particularly well, it's our very own Mickey Gray. How are you, Mickey?
I'm very well, Natalie. How are you?
Good. We're really good, thank you.
Good.
I tell you what, they're going for it. They're spending the money to try and ensure that they don't go straight back down.
They are. I think it's come as a surprise to everybody, really, because you know, you look at teams that have actually went out and spent in the past in the Premier League, like Fulham. I think Ipswich did exactly the same thing. They spent over £100 million. And look where they ended up. They got relegated. I know Fulham have bounced back since that moment, but they're certainly going out. They're bringing in the talent that we want at the club. but it's just whether they've got enough experience to actually stay there. I think everybody who gets promoted, they're kind of looking at that four from bottom, aren't they, to see if they can stay in the Premier League. If they could do it for that first season, it'll be absolutely brilliant. But I think everybody's on side. They're excited about seeing this new talent that we've got at the club.
And Mickey, I feel like it's almost the perfect signing. You know, if you were to ask a Sunderland fan through the lens of reality, who's the best possible player that you could sign? I feel like Granit Jaca is just ideal. He ticks all the boxes that you could possibly want ticked. You over the moon with this one?
Well, the thing is with Rory, I mean, you look at the Premier League sides who are maybe looking for a holder midfield player with a bit of experience. I'm very surprised that there was only Sunderland actually after Xhaka, because he's got great experience. You know what he did at Arsenal, obviously at Leverkusen as well. So I think it's a brilliant coup for the football club. And players like that walking through the door attract more players. I know Sunderland have been in the transfer market and they brought in a lot of players for next season. They're not holding back. They're going out. They're not sticking with a squad that got them promoted to the Premier League. So I think it's great for everybody. And, you know, speaking to people and my friends and my family even in Sunderland about the signings that we've made, I think everybody's excited. Albeit, I think the last couple of pre-season games that they had, you know, you can't judge them on that, obviously, but they didn't play well against Hearts. I watched that game. A couple of games prior to that as well, they didn't really do well. But it's only pre-season. There's a lot of time to go to bed these new players in. But Xhaka, there's no doubt about it. Super signing for the club.
And when you consider, obviously, what happened last season, which was just simply incredible. I mean, Sunderland started the season so well, and everyone kept saying they're going to fall away. They're going to fall away. And yet they didn't. They were there for so very, very long, obviously, getting into that playoff situation, to the playoff final. What was lacking, the only thing that was lacking, was the experience, was an older figure in that team, which, as you've touched on, Granit Xhaka will bring. I mean, a lot of people were linking Jordan Henderson, perhaps, with a sort of emotional return to Sunderland. So it was a bit of a surprise that didn't work out. But I think you're right. It is a coup for Granit Xhaka to be involved at Sunderland because of everything that he brings and Premier League experience to boot.
Yeah, your side's stolen from us, Natalie, didn't you? So we can't help.
Listen, the guy wanted to pick the red and white of Brentford. It's not my fault.
No, but you're completely right. I think if you go back to the starting 11 in the playoff final, not one player had played one game in the Premier League. So I think, you look at Regis Labrie, obviously thought of that and thought, look, we're going into the Premier League. We need some experience, Premier League experience, because there's no other league like it. The intensity that it brings from first whistle to the last, coming to the end of the season. So it's paramount that we had to bring those type of players into the football club. And everybody's always looking for goals as well. I think the signings of Enzo Lafay making that permanent as well, and obviously Isidore, that was key for Sunderland, because I think they're two key players for Sunderland moving forward, with the experience that they've had playing in Europe along with Xhaka. And then the younger players can bounce off that, which is absolutely brilliant. And I think once you get that nice balance of a bit of youth and a bit of experience, if you get off to a good start, and Sunderland have got every opportunity of getting off to a good start. I think they play Burnley and West Ham the first day of the season. I'm actually there for talkSPORT. They give themselves that fighting chance. It's about momentum, about confidence. I remember being a side myself, getting promoted with Sunderland, and we didn't get off to a good start. I think we got thumped off Chelsea 5-0. And we're like, crikey, if it's going to be like this every single week, we've got absolutely no chance. But just somewhere you've got to kind of dig deep and find that extra 10 or 15%. And momentum takes you a long way. It really does. And that's exactly what they've got to do. And they've got to use that crowd as well. Every single week.
Mickey, was that the Gus Poyet karate kick off the Zola scoop?
Yeah. It was, yeah.
I was there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was playing in that game. I think Gianfranco Zola got a couple of goals that season at that game. But Chelsea were incredible. Look, we played Newcastle after that. We went to St James's Park. We beat them 2-1. And I think beating your local rivals just give us that burst of enthusiasm to go into the next 2 or 3 games after that. And we just start picking up points, and then you tick them off. You're right, okay, we've got to 10 points now. Let's get to 20 points. Now we've got to try and get to 30. And 2 seasons in a row, we finished 7th, I think, with 65 points, which was absolutely incredible. So that's what Sunderland have got to try and do. They've just got to start from the beginning of the season, just pick up points, whoever you're playing against. If they can do that, they've got every chance of staying up.
Absolutely. And Mickey, can I get your thoughts on the ownership? Because I know that some of what I'm about to say has been balanced with the sales of Watson and Joe Bellingham. But that's 135 million quid spent now for Sunderland. Really ambitious owners, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Kieran Lewis-Dreyfus. I mean, he's only a young man as well. His background is his family, his father and mother. They own Marseille. So I think he's obviously been born into football, if you like. And I think when he got the opportunity to take on Sunderland at a reasonably cheaper price, I think he jumped at the opportunity. And kind of nobody knew too much about him. He came in, he was very quiet. He brought in some experienced people to work alongside him, who've been really good in the transfer market. The recruitment's been fantastic, but if you look at the age of the squad last season, it was very, very young. So young players will be given the opportunity at Sunderland. I think they've done it really well over the last 4 or 5 seasons. But now they're in the big league and they just look at every other side in the Premier League. And I think you touched on it, Natalie, about the last 2 seasons. The 3 sides who get promoted have got relegated. It has to come to an end. And I think when you look at the transfer business that Leeds United have done, Burnley have done, they're all probably thinking, well, look, we need to actually bring in a few more faces to give ourselves a chance. Because if we don't, we stick with the squads that we've already got. We know what the outcome's going to be. And look, this is in hindsight. I mean, people were saying to me, yes, Sunderland have got promoted, but what do you think about next season in the Premier League? And this was before they'd actually signed a player. And I said, with the greatest respect, I went, Derby County's 11 points is in jeopardy. But now they've brought in these 6, 7 new faces. They've given themselves that fighting chance, and that's all you can ask.
I suppose one of the issues, though, with some of these new signings is AFCON that's coming up later this year. Is that a concern, and therefore does it mean they actually are going to have to bring in more as well?
Well, I think you need a bigger squad, Natalie, for that. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head how many of those new signings are actually going to be going to the AFCON, but of course it's going to be a miss. But there's other sides in the Premier League are going to be in the same situation. You know, we're not talking about the sides at the bottom, we're talking about the top sides as well, if you bring in Liverpool into this conversation. So, yeah, you have to work around it. It's something that happens, but who knows? You know, you pick up injuries through the season anyway, so that might have been the situation anyway. But I think it's just great to have them through the door. You hope that the fresh faces settle into the squad as quick as they possibly can. That's why they're playing these pre-season games. I mentioned the game against Hearts there. I think there was 2 or 3 of the new faces were actually playing in that game. But there's many more pre-season games before we get to the start of the season, and that's when you've got to be 100% sure.
Yeah, just looking at the fixtures, like you were saying, you start off at home to West Ham, then you have a trip to Burnley, followed by a home game with Brentford, Palace, that before the international break, and then obviously it goes again with Villa and Forest to come. So, yeah, I mean, no easy games. It's a cliche. We say it all the time, but it's true. But you want to get off to certainly a good start to stand you in good stead, Mickey.
Well, it's huge. It really is, because I think the quicker you can start getting the points on the board, and I'm thinking of myself as a player now and what the managers used to say to myself when we were in the Premier League. It was, look, if you get the job done in the first half of the season, it doesn't make the second half of the season that little bit easy, because if you get 20 points by the turn of the year, you've got to think to yourself then, right, okay, if we get another 18 or 20 points, then we're in the Premier League for another season. And that's the way you have to think. You've got to kind of put these games into a bracket of 4 or 5 and say, right, what do you expect to get in these 5 or 6 games? If you get 8 points, brilliant. Then you move on to the next 4 or 5 games after that. You've got to keep picking up the 6 to 8 points. If you can keep on doing that throughout the whole of the season, when maybe people don't expect you to pick up any points against the top sides, which you wouldn't do anyway, they're bonus points. And that's what the players have got to be thinking. It's all going to be new to them. There's a lot of those players are going to be playing against Premier League players that they've only watched on the television. They're going to be playing against them now. So it's not like they're going into the unknown. They know exactly what to expect, and they've got to raise the game. If they raise the game, they become better players, and it's only better for the club.
Oh, is this a time when you wish you were still playing, Mickey?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, it's better to sit in the comfy seats and look out and do some work that way. Yeah.
I'll stick with golf, Natalie. I'm all right with that.
Oh, brilliant.
It doesn't hurt.
No, that's true. Mickey, thank you.
Thank you. See you later.
Oh, that's for former Sunderland defender Mickey Gray then. And yeah, I mean, they are going pretty well, these 3.
It's really impressive from Sunderland. You know, when you're looking at what they're doing, you look at the ambition, you look at the wealth of the owner. I don't know. I really don't know what the ceiling will be for them. I think that they're looking around. They're looking at what the likes of Brentford have done, the likes of Brighton have done. And I think that they have realised that there is certainly a world where they could establish themselves now as a Premier League team. They got promoted in a season when perhaps they didn't expect to. And obviously they won a playoff final. That again, they didn't go into that game as favourites at all. But Now they're there, they're not looking back. And I think you could actually define that Granit Jaca signing as pound for pound and what it represents as one of the best signings that will be made this summer. I think it's just a brilliant signing. Such a good passer of the ball. He's just swapped Champions League football. Like he swapped playing for Erik ten Hag in the Champions League. He's won a Bundesliga, going unbeaten, and now he's going to be competing for Sunderland for the next 3 years. It's, as Mickey said there, it's a brilliant signing.
And just 17 million? Doesn't sound like a lot,
absolutely.
really.
Sub 20 million for a player of that quality with that Premier League experience.
Yeah,
it's a perfect signing.
You might think though a penny for Erik ten Hag's thoughts coming into this.
They really wanted to keep him as well. Apparently,
because they've sort of sold Verts, they've sold Frimpong as well. I mean, key players, key personnel in that team, and
maybe they didn't want to hang about to work with him. Though.
Well, that's it. They've heard the rumours. You don't want to work with him. No. Well, anyway, right. You're listening in to Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over at begambleaware.org. Good evening, this is Transfer Insiders. We're with you until 10 tonight. It's Rory, Jennings and me, Natalie, Sawyer. And I'll tell you what, sometimes when it comes to these transfer windows, Rory, sometimes the coup is who you keep rather than who you sell or buy. And one of those will clearly be Morgan Gibbs White, who, a few weeks ago we were thinking he was North London bound for Tottenham, and yet fast forward to just the weekend gone, he signed a new deal at Forest, keeping him there until 2028. Before we get your thoughts on it all, let's hear a little clip of the announcement video that was put out by Forest with Gibbs White signing this new contract at the club.
I'm delighted. So thank you to Mr. Marinakis for believing in me. I feel like we've been on a roller coaster of a journey, but I've felt the love instantly from the very first moment I stepped into the doors. We've had difficult times, but we've had a lot of highs. And last year was really, really exciting. We got to showcase what we're about and what we're trying to build as a team. And I feel like Mr. Marinakis is the base of that. So I was delighted to sign.
Okay. That's what he had to say then on what was a sensational U-turn, because it did look like he perhaps was leaving after it seemed Spurs had triggered a release clause in his contract. Although, as we now know, Forest were looking to perhaps go down the legal avenue, Rory, because they felt that release clause was confidential and had been breached, which in itself I find bizarre. how you can have a release clause that no one's allowed to know about.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
The whole thing is wild. It's fascinating, though. I must concede, I love it. I love the whole thing. I love the whole... Okay. I think that we are going to study this interview, like that Morgan Gibbs White interview.
We talking about the interview? Okay,
yeah,
right.
That interview is going to go down in history.
Okay.
It's going to become, you know those famous interviews, famous football interviews, I don't know, Eric Cantona, when the seagull follows a trawler, it's because the sardines are going to be flung in the sea or whatever. That has lived long, right? The Antonio Conte presser off the back of the Tottenham 3-3 draw when he basically went wild. The Rafael Benitez one, facts.
Yeah,
right? Those they live forever, don't they?
Kevin Keegan,
I will love it.
Yeah,
right. They live forever. These moments in the press, and I think that somebody far more intelligent than me would be able to study the body language of everything going on, and it's just unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable. Like he's speaking in such a deferential way in a press interview, and you think, why is he looking like he's so under pressure and being so deferential? And then suddenly the camera pans and Marianakis is standing there looming large like Tony Soprano, like making sure that Chris Moltisanti says the right thing. It's like an unbelievable interview.
Yeah.
And it's like mind-blowing. And I think that Daniel Levy, who, from my understanding of the situation, would be totally within his rights to pursue this and get the player that they believe that they've rightfully signed. I think he's looked at what Marianakis is about and he's gone, I'm not going near this. like Morgan Gibbs White's good, but he's not that good. I'm not getting involved with this.
Yeah.
Like, this is wild.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with Marianakis.
No.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
No, it's an amazing moment. And Gibbs White, unbelievably, is still a Forest player. Is that good? Like, I think it's good news on some level, but the relationship has got to be burned, hasn't it, with the Forest fans? You think about how much they loved him. He's a jewel in the crown of their team. Do you remember they had that very impressive tifo just for him? He tried to leave. Like, football fans are, we're quite a tribal bunch. Tried to leave.
But we're also fickle.
Yeah, but that's true. Score a hat-trick, he'd be fine. Yeah.
If he has a great start to the season, it won't matter.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it is bizarre. And when it was rumoured that he was going to be signing this deal at the weekend, I was thinking, this is extraordinary turnaround. Now, it's only till 2028. So, it doesn't feel as though... It's not like we see all the long-term
6-year deal or 8-year deal, no.
We haven't gone down the Chelsea route with this one, so it doesn't mean he's going to live out his days at Forest.
No, I know. I feel like what Marianakis has done here, I think, and on some level this is impressive. What he's done is he's made the statement not only to Morgan Gibbs White and to Tottenham, but to anyone, to any club in the world. You do not come and take our players. And I think that's the first step of becoming a serious football club. That's the first step of becoming what you ultimately want to become. Like, his ambition is obviously to take Nottingham Forest to the very top. That's the kind of man that he is. He strives for brilliance. And the first step along the way is you don't sell your best players. You're not a selling club. And he is trying to turn Forest into a serious football club. But there are so many examples of him being box office, but he shouldn't really be the headline. Banning Gary Neville from the... Remember all that?
Yeah.
Marching onto the pitch. I know that Forest tried to almost rewrite history around why he stormed onto the pitch, but we all know what happened there. He stormed on because he was furious with the result. Like the Gary Neville stuff towards the end of the season. Obviously, Chelsea beating Forest at the City Ground just at the end. I mean, I think he's fascinating. On some level, I have ultimate respect for him, and I like him. He is a man who will not be beaten.
Without a doubt, Forest fans love him. Of course they do. Look what he's achieved in just a short space of time in the Premier League. They've got European football. We don't know what competition that's going to be yet, but they have got European football. And you're right, he did say, I promised our fans we would not only compete, but grow stronger and stronger every season. And on the signing of Gibbs White, he said today is another big step in that journey. And you're absolutely right in the sense of, if you want to build this club back to being the European great that it once was under Cloughy, you can't sell your best players.
No.
You've got to build around them. And he's spoken about how he feels Gibbs White is sort of at the heart of what
he's irreplaceable. I rate him really highly. I like the fact that he got an England call-up. I think he's worthy of that. But I don't think he's a best-in-class player or anything like that, but I do think he is a best-in-class player to them. He is their heartbeat. He is their jewel in the crown. A player like Anthony Elanga was a really good Forest player, but not an irreplaceable Forest player. You take Elanga out of that team, you sign someone decent in that position, and you'll be okay. You take Morgan Gibbs White out, and they are a different team, a different proposition, and almost as a brand, they're different because they've sold the jewel in the crown. So I do understand why he's done everything that he can to keep hold of the player. But the facts of the matter are that the player had a release clause. The release clause was met. and the player had agreed, but it's like it was done.
Yeah, and I always sort of think, and look, I don't know every single football contract that there is. I've never even seen a player's contract, so I wouldn't know how they look and how they work. I don't think every single player has a release clause in their contract, but there's a reason that they wanted it in that contract, which was that they thought at some point he's going to be good enough to be a target of a big club, big club, shall we say? Yeah. So clearly, by his own indication of signing that deal with a release clause, confidential or not, he is seeing it as a stepping stone, I assume.
But what's the the significance of the confidential versus public? I don't quite understand it anyway.
No,
I don't quite understand what it means. I think Marinakis basically said that if it had been adhered to in the way that he wanted it to, he would have respected the deal. He would have respected it from Tottenham, but because it wasn't adhered to in that way, I just don't get it.
Well, I don't get a confidential release clause anyway. What's the point?
No.
Because in that sense, there's absolutely no point in having it in the contract because it's not allowed to come out. So why
what sort of
bother?
impact, if any, do you think this will have on Forest season?
What, did the whole Gibbs scenario?
Less the player, just the saga, this story. Do you think it's damaging to the club, the perception of the club?
I don't think so.
I feel like certain moments over recent times. So the Nottingham Forest versus Crystal Palace issue,
I was about that.
combined with it, like they're becoming very newsworthy, Forest, not always for the right reasons.
Yes, I was just exactly that. I think within Forest, doesn't matter. They don't care. As long as they're getting the results on the pitch, it doesn't matter all these silly statements that they put out and clarification on this PGMOL rule or clarification on what's happening with Crystal Palace, whatever it is that they are writing about. But yes, everybody else is looking at them and thinking, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? No other club does this. No. And you're making yourselves look silly from an outsider's point of view. But if I was a Forest fan, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care if people look at...
You've kept your best player.
Yeah, I wouldn't care if you look at us and think we're silly and we're looking stupid because we're still getting what we want out of it.
Yeah. And what about with regard to taking... It's looking like they're going to get that, the Crystal Palace, the swap in terms of tournaments. Do you feel like their conduct around that, reporting... grassing,
well, they're saying they didn't, that there again was more about clarification than anything. But yeah, of course not. I don't particularly like that. I don't particularly like that they want to wage a war against another Premier League team.
Maybe.
But then again, look, we've seen it before. Clubs do it all the time. The European Super League at one stage was all about a war against everybody else. They just didn't win that one. And ultimately, whatever happens with Palace, whichever competition they end up in with this Court of Arbitration for Sport situation, Forest will just be part of that process. It won't matter that they've written to UEFA to clarify everything because they'll just get put in whatever competition that they're put in due to the league situation. So, yeah, but I get where you're coming from because there is a part of me that just thinks, just curb it a little bit.
History is going to be quite... I don't know if it will be kind or unkind, but this is going to go down in history. This Marinakis era is going to be studied. Like that interview, it's like box office stuff, I don't think we've seen something like that for such a long time. And also the camera. I feel like the editing or the cameraman knows exactly what's going on there. He pans just at the right time. It's like this. Is this man under duress? Like blink twice if you're under, and suddenly bang, there's Marinakis for a second, looming large.
Don't you think Marinakis is the cameraman? He's the editor. He's the script writer, probably.
Yeah. Just don't understand the need to be stood there. Overshadowing like the entire thing.
It's quite intimidating.
It's truly immense. It's amazing. And do you know what? The bottom line of it all, I really, really rate him just for his steadfast approach to not being beaten. He's a man who will do everything within his power to take his club where he wants to take them and woe betide anyone who stands in his way. And on that front alone, you've got to hold your hands up and go, that's the kind of geezer I want around my football club.
I mean, I don't know if he does this, but when they have these Premier League meetings, I don't know if he's the one that goes. Sometimes it's the chief exec or chairman or whatever, but it might be him as well. Can you imagine what he's like in those meetings?
You'd want to sit next to him. Just be like, what is going to happen here?
He's just constantly, no, no, it's all for
truly amazing.
That's why Forest fans will love him because it is all about Forest for him, and why wouldn't it be? Of course it would be. But it is the biggest sort of statement from Forest that they have signed up Morgan Gibbs-White for another 3 years after it looked like he was heading out the door. You're tuning in to Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org. And up next, we'll run you through the top stories of the day. This is Transfer Insiders with me, Natalie Sawyer, and Rory Jennings, taking you through all the latest transfer chat. And Ramsdale to Newcastle. Could there be legs in this one? Our reporter Ben Jacobs will give us the latest. It's a big summer for Brentford. We'll discuss our thoughts on how they look this season. Sunderland, well, they seem to be going for it. Mickey Gray will give us his thoughts on the window so far, and Granit Jaca as well, as touching on Rory's beloved Chelsea. This is Transfer Insiders. OK, first up, Rory, today it was announced that Newcastle are linked with the Southampton goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale. talkSPORT's Ben Jacobs joined us to give us the latest.
Aaron Ramsdale is a target that Newcastle have pivoted to after missing out on James Trafford to Manchester City. They've made an approach for an initial loan with buy option, and Southampton are prepared to sell, but only at the right number. They're talking figures at the moment. It's kind of a working bid verbally that allows a starting point in negotiations, but some way to go before this move gets done. On the player side, it's very positive. He's keen on a move. I can also tell you that Ramsdale rejected an approach from Sunderland earlier in the window, so that will go down well with the Magpies fans. But it looks like Newcastle are quite optimistic that this one might get over the line, and as a result, they'll finally get a goalkeeper through the door. Not their first choice, but someone with plenty of Premier League experience.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it, with Aaron Ramsdale? Most recently with Southampton, as we know, relegated with them last season too. Do you think he is an upgrade on Nick Pope?
No, not really. For what it's worth, I do rate Aaron Ramsdale. I certainly did. There was a period where, to be totally honest, I have to concede that I said that Arsenal didn't even need David Raya. I didn't quite understand the point in getting Raya in. I rated Raya as a keeper, but I didn't necessarily think that there was a massive elevation between Aaron Ramsdale and David Raya, and ultimately you were going to upset the apple cart a bit, a good back line, a solid keeper, to bring in Raya. I mean, it was one of Mikel Arteta's best moves. It was a masterstroke, because everything that we've learned about Aaron Ramsdale since then has been quite underwhelming. It hasn't gone his way. There was an interview that I saw that he did with Ian Wright. I don't know if you've seen it, Natalie, but it was one of the most shocking interviews I've ever seen from a footballer, primarily because the openness and candid nature of the interview. And he drops a line that I don't even think he thinks is particularly big. And Ian Wright hears it, and you can see Ian Wright's face is totally shocked when Aaron Ramsdale basically says that he can't concentrate for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And you think, well, what are you talking about? Like, that's the primary function of a good goalkeeper. It's to be alert, because your role, unlike any other role on a football pitch, can be literally one moment. Literally one moment in the 83rd minute. You could do nothing up until that point and nothing beyond it. But you could have a game-defining moment once after 80 minutes. And the fact that he spoke about his issues with concentration, I think, really painted him in a poor colour.
Yes, I do remember that interview, because that's where he was talking about, that's why he does all the silly antics sometimes. And
he sort of becomes the cheerleader on the pitch. And
with the fans and everything like that. Yeah, I do remember
that.
But
he is a good goalie. Like, I think what can happen in football is we often forget recency bias is a thing. There was a time when I rated him so highly. Like the season, it was actually the season before he got the plaudits. He was fantastic. He was starting Arsenal's attacks. There was actually a game at White Hart Lane that Tottenham got beat. Well, Arsenal won the game. It was the game where Aaron Ramsdale actually, you might remember it. He got. It was terrible scenes. He got attacked. He got kicked by a Tottenham fan after the game. Do you remember in the full-time whistle? He went to pick up his gloves and whatever.
Yes.
And a Tottenham fan actually leant over and gave him a boot, which was like obviously horrifying to see. But that game, he was unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I think the game finished 2-0 to Arsenal, and I genuinely believe that if you'd swapped goalkeepers that day, the game would have finished 2-0 to Tottenham. Like, that's how good he was. Like, he was keeping everything out. He was unbelievable that day. So there's a goalkeeper there. It's just everything that goes with Ramsdale. But you've got, if you look at it from a Newcastle fan's perspective, they've gone from Ekatike lining up alongside Alexander Isak, playing 4-4-2, like bringing in potentially England's best centre-half, Mark Gahey. None of the above is now happening, and they're talking about Aaron Ramsdale.
Yeah, this window is not going particularly well for Newcastle, that is for sure. But you're also right to mention the recency bias when it comes to Ramsdale.
He was good.
Because if you just look at Southampton and what happened last season, which was a season to forget for many involved at the club, 86 goals they conceded. You can't put them all on him, of course you can't.
No.
But the manner in which they played, as we all know, under Russell Martin in particular, was majorly a factor into their downfall. Yeah. The way that they could give away goals so easily. There were times I remember thinking, he's got to be questioning, why did he go to Southampton of all the clubs at that time, because it was such a torrid season.
I was so surprised that he ended up there as well, because like I say, I rated him so highly, and I do think that people are very quick to forget quite how good he was for Arsenal. Like there were moments when he was genuinely starting Arsenal. Like, his distribution is excellent, and he could ping a ball out to Bukayo Saka, which would launch Arsenal onto the attack. He was brilliant for a period, but there is a lot of baggage that goes with him now, and obviously his perennial relegation issues aren't good, and he now comes with baggage. He now comes with baggage. But look, if that can be unpacked, and he can focus, you can get him playing, you can get him back to his best. There is a really good footballer in there. I think you could even, this might be a bit controversial, maybe a little bit extreme in my praise here, but you know, if every English goalkeeper is on song, the very best that they can be, I think you could make a case that Aaron Ramsdale on his best day is as good as Jordan Pickford on his best day. It's just, how often do you see that best day and whatever? But you are right, the Southampton, like the dogmatic approach from Russell Martin was as big a problem for Southampton as anything that Aaron Ramsdale did.
But then, clearly, Newcastle doing their homework. They see something in him. There's a quality that they think can add to their team. Bear in mind, they've got Champions League football to look forward to. And you've already touched on some of the big misses they've had in transfers this summer. The Alexander Isak situation is still unresolved. I mean, do you fear for Newcastle if they lose someone like Isak?
Yeah. Massively, not only because of the play. You know, if there's two things to look at here: what it means for Newcastle United to lose a player of that quality, and then what it means for the brand of Newcastle United. So on the pitch, you're losing, in my opinion, the best striker in the league, like devastatingly brilliant forward. Off the pitch, what does it say about losing your players? Like, in fact, we've just spoken, haven't we, about the likes of Nottingham Forest and what it would mean to keep Morgan Gibbs-White. It's suddenly very difficult to rationalise a world where Newcastle United, despite the riches, despite the ambition, despite everything that we know about the club, it's really difficult to rationalise a situation where a club with that ambition and that money are going to sell their best player. Like, to ask the question bluntly, can you be considered a serious football club, serious in terms of winning top-tier silverware, if you sell your best talent? Like, genuinely, Natalie, can you answer? Can you answer that question in the affirmative? Can you be considered a top tier football club, serious football club, capable of winning top tier silverware, if you sell your best players?
Well, probably not.
This is the problem. It's what it represents as well as what the impact on the pitch, combined with what the impact represents off the pitch. I think it's a devastating sale for Newcastle. And do you know what I think they should do? They should go Marianakis on it. They should just do everything within their power. Like, I've read that this is now being looked after by the Newcastle hierarchy, the chairman. This isn't an Eddie Howe problem anymore. It's gone beyond Eddie Howe. This is a PIF problem. What I think is best for Newcastle is for Newcastle to do everything in their power to block this. Block it on principle. Do literally everything that you can to make sure that Alexander Isak remains happy and remains a player for Newcastle United.
Yeah, and part of that will come down to wages and a restructuring of everything like that.
Yeah.
But the difference is that Morgan Gibbs-White has been in and around Forest all pre-season, by all accounts, hasn't caused any issues. And I'm not saying Isak has caused massive issues, but he didn't go on the Far East tour.
No.
Minor thigh injury is what we're told, but that's whether you believe that fully.
Understood.
There's that issue there already, that there's a player who is making it known that they're exploring options. That clearly doesn't want to be there.
I think he's gone, and I totally understand the allure of Liverpool for him. Like, if you're him, of course he wants to play for Liverpool. Of course he wants to link up with Salah. Of course he wants to hear the cop sing his name. Of course he wants to lead a line for Liverpool Football Club in the Champions League. Realistically, Liverpool one of the favourites to win that. Of course he wants to be part of that. And then you combine that with looking around at what's been going on at Newcastle, and you're like, this isn't ideal. You know, he's watched player after player. He's watched Liam Delap not signed for Newcastle. He's watched Brian Obermo not signed for Newcastle. He's watched Mark Gahey not signed for Newcastle. He's watched James Trafford not signed for Newcastle. So you can understand from his perspective. But if you look at it, if you try and adopt a viewpoint for everybody involved in this, what's best for Isak? And if you were a friend of Alexander Isak or offering him counsel, you would say you've got to go to Liverpool. If you're Liverpool, you would go, we've got to sign Isak. But looking at it strictly through the lens of what's best for Newcastle United, it's not best for football. It's not really what I want to happen. But Newcastle should block the transfer. For what's best for them, they should block the transfer because of what it represents as well as what it would do on the pitch.
And the rumours of who could come in to replace him, Benjamin Sesko is one. There's also Johan Wissa from Brentford, who I obviously, as a Brentford fan, adore.
Do you rate him highly, Wissa? Do you think he's that good?
Last
Champions League
season
at
was
Newcastle.
His clearly most impressive season for us, but that in part was due to the relationship with Brian Burma.
Absolutely.
So I do worry a little bit of, can he replicate that elsewhere? I'm not sure. It's sort of untested, uncharted waters.
And regardless of how good Johan Wissa is, or Benjamin Sesko is, come to that matter, you're replacing the irreplaceable here. Like it almost doesn't matter how good Wissa is. You're replacing the best striker in the league, and he's not that. It doesn't matter what Benjamin Sesko's capable of doing, because however good he is, he's not going to be anywhere close to being what Alexander Isak is on the pitch or off it, or what he represents.
And you know what? That's the fear of whoever comes in to replace him. It's going to be underwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely, really. Absolutely. It's a really difficult time for Newcastle, this. And you know that euphoria that was felt when they won the League Cup? Like, it felt like a very special time for Newcastle. Do you remember the run to winning that League Cup? Beating Arsenal home and away and then beating Liverpool in the final. That's the stuff dreams are made of. Feels like a long time ago now, though, doesn't it?
Certainly does. This is Transfer Insiders. Next, we'll focus on Sunderland and Chelsea. This is Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. We turn our attention now to Sunderland and rumours of Bayer Leverkusen's Granit Jaca set to have his medical at the club. Sunderland legend Mickey Gray gave us his thoughts on this potential signing.
I'm very surprised that there was only Sunderland actually after Jaca, because he's got great experience. You know what he did at Arsenal, obviously at Leverkusen as well. So I think it's a brilliant coup for the football club. And players like that walking through the door attract more players. I think if you go back to the starting 11 in the playoff final, not one player had played one game in the Premier League. So I think, you look at Regis Labrie, obviously thought of that and thought, look, we're going into the Premier League. We need some experience, Premier League experience, because there's no other league like it. The intensity that it brings from first whistle to the last, coming to the end of the season. So it's paramount that we had to bring those type of players into the football club.
Yeah, Rory, it's pretty clear when you look at their signings so far, the majority of them don't have Premier League experience, and that is what he will bring in bucket loads. When you think about his time under Arsene Wenger, his time under Mikel Arteta as well, and I know he had his issues. Yeah. We know there was a fair few red cards. We know he had a falling out as well with the fans. but he was brought back from the cold at that point as well with Arteta. So clearly, two managers of good pedigree. I mean, Arsene Wenger, we know what he did for Arsenal. Clearly felt there was something fabulous about this player.
He's a very, very good player. Like we've seen what he's done for Switzerland. He was part of that Leverkusen team under Xabi Alonso as well that went unbeaten.
Yeah.
You know, they made history, and he is now effectively left the Champions League club. He won't be playing in the Champions League to play for Sunderland. And you know, you mentioned his contribution to Arsenal, and of course there were moments. It effectively went wrong for him where it became untenable when he lost his temper and he threw. Once you've launched the captain's armband at Arsenal, it's going to be very difficult to get things back on track. But he did manage to do it. He did manage to convince people, and I feel like that final season, it was the first time that Arsenal fans actually realised and appreciated quite what they had, and they half missed him. You know, like that season that they didn't win the league when they brought in Kai Havertz to replace him as a midfielder. There is certainly a world where had they kept Granit Xhaka in that position, they may have won the league. And now you're looking at it from Sunderland's perspective. I think I honestly believe that, you know when this transfer window is up and we can actually evaluate the entire transfer window for every single player, every single club, and we can analyse ins and outs and almost give it a score. I honestly believe that everything combined, this could be the best in-class signing, the best signing of the window.
So does that mean then that one signing can be so pivotal to a club's survival, perhaps?
Yeah.
You think it's that?
I think that the way that Sunderland are operating, you know, under Dreyfus, the way that they are now run, it's impressive. It's so impressive. So it won't be about one signing in itself. The whole club is kind of structured in a way now that is well run and efficient, and the days of Sunderland till I die are well in the past. But this signing, I think it could be the difference maker. I think having Granit Jaca around at a club like Sunderland, who, you know, they're under threat in the Premier League, they could go down. Suddenly a player like Xhaka arrives. I feel like the tide rises. One player lands and the belief is elevated. Everything changes having him around, because where Granit Xhaka will not struggle, and this can't be said about everyone at Sunderland, including the manager, he won't be experienced to this. You know, when they go away to Tottenham and it's intense, or they go away to Newcastle and it's intense, Xhaka won't be intimidated. Like, this is just another day at the office for Granit Xhaka. He's played in far more intimidating atmospheres than anything that the Premier League is going to offer. So he will be able to stabilise the team. He will be able to make sure, if they're 1-0 up with 83 minutes left, his impact at that particular moment, it's going to be worth its weight in gold. And when I say it's the best signing, I honestly believe, of course he's not a better player than Florian Wirtz or any signing like that, but in terms of what he brings, I don't think that Sunderland, in the whole of world football, I don't think Sunderland could realistically sign a better player than Granit Xhaka, a player that has just done the business in the Bundesliga, won the league, was part of that Xabi Alonso team that will go down in history, a player that Erik ten Hag was desperate to keep. They've brought him in for less than 20 million quid. I honestly think this could be a difference maker, and for any team, any fan of a team that has the potential threat of relegation looming over them, and this is applicable to everybody that could go down. It's as applicable to a West Ham fan as it is a Wolves fan, as it is a Brentford fan, as anyone else. Granit Xhaka's arrival isn't good news for them.
No, listen, I totally agree with you. He's bringing so much more than just what he does on the pitch. It's what he will hopefully do off it. He'll be someone for those young players, and let's not forget, this is still a very young Sunderland team, probably the youngest, I think, in the Championship. He'll be someone for those players to look up to. As you say, he's coming in as a league champion in Germany, having won that a couple of seasons ago. So there's so much more that he'll bring. And he'll also bring that game management, which I think is vitally important. You know, that is something I always used to harp on with my club, Brentford, because there was a period where we didn't have players that could do that. We didn't have players you could bring off the bench that would disrupt, that would cause all those annoying niggly fouls, tactical fouls, just to disrupt the opponent. And someone with that experience who's been there and done it, like Granit Xhaka.
Granit Xhaka will go down with a slight injury at exactly the right time to make sure that the game at St James's Park against Sunderland's biggest rivals finishes 1-1. He will make that tactical foul to make sure that Anthony Gordon doesn't escape on the halfway line, just at the point when it looks like Newcastle could break to get the winner. Granit Xhaka's place in that team, I just think it's such an astute signing.
Yeah,
it really is, and I think it actually changes the face of where Sunderland will finish this season.
In terms of,
I don't think they go down.
Really?
Oh yeah, I don't think they go down.
In terms of the three that have come up, them along with Burnley and Leeds.
I think Burnley are the most
likely.
Yeah, Burnley are the most likely to go down. Leeds, it's going to be interesting. Leeds just feel. I know this sort of shows my age a touch, but Leeds to me feel like a Premier League team. I always feel like they can survive, and this link that they've now got with the San Francisco 49ers, if it's used correctly, it feels like they can do it. But it's gonna be great because one of the best parts of any season is the relegation battle, and the fact that we didn't have that last year, it made the season just a little bit flatter than it could have been. You know, like those scenes of Kieran Richardson and Brian Robson on the final Dino.
Oh, yeah, The Great Escape.
Yeah, like they're great.
That,
and I feel like this relegation battle could be brilliant.
And bucking the recent trend then of the three that come up going straight back down. Let's have a quick word on your team, Chelsea, shall we? Because we understand here at talkSPORT that Chelsea could be putting in a bid for Manchester United's Alejandro Garnacho, as well as preparing a bid. Oh gosh, you didn't like that, no? For Xavi Simons. What's wrong with Garnacho?
Everything's wrong with Garnacho, and none of it is to do with football. As a footballer, I rate him very highly. I think the bicycle kick that was executed at Goodison Park is honestly one of the finest goals that I've ever seen. You know, on the Richter scale of bicycle kicks, which I think Trevor Sinclair is the best ever bicycle kick. It was, I mean,
or was it the QPR one?
No, it was QPR.
Sorry,
it's Barnsley.
QPR,
Yeah,
right.
Barnsley in the cup. I think on the Richter scale, that's 10 out of 10, and then anything else. I mean, this Garnacho one was 9.5. I thought it was just an amazing goal. One of the best goals I've ever seen.
Right.
So it isn't about him as a player. I rate him as a player. But I'm afraid the disrespect that he showed to the office of Manchester United manager, and it isn't about the incumbent in the job. It isn't about I don't like Ten Hag or I don't like Amorim. You must simply respect that office. If you are the Manchester United manager, that comes with a prestige that needs to be respected by players. And Alejandro Garnacho's conduct throughout, I just found everything about the way that he's been in other shirts. He's been missing training. He's a real problem. And I think he's got baggage that you don't want anywhere near your club.
But he's still young, so maybe you could say there's an element of immaturity and that he can come good.
It's true, he could, but I personally wouldn't want to take the risk. I find anybody like that, like, do you know when Jadon Sancho was at Chelsea and Chelsea were linked to potentially signing him? Do you know what I kept thinking of? I don't rate Erik Ten Hag. I think he was a poor Manchester United manager despite the cup success. But he was Manchester United manager and he deserved respect. You know when Jadon Sancho took to social media to pin... Do you remember he made it... you can pin something to the top of your profile, and he made that a statement. That's who he wanted to be. And he effectively said, I will outlast you at this club.
Yeah.
You just can't have players like that in your team. There is a hierarchy. The manager must be ultimately respected, and any player that doesn't respect the manager, call the manager gaffer, and effectively jump when the manager says jump, or ask how high when the manager says jump, I think you don't really want players like that near your team.
All right, well, you're saying no to Garnacho, but what about Chelsea in general this coming season?
I think we could be good, Natalie. I think what happened in New York City should not be underestimated. I think it should inspire us. It should invigorate the club. It's more it's more success, it's more trophies, it's more international trophies. We already won a trophy last year in Poland. Not necessarily one to write home about, but still we won it, and that's worthy of respect. So if we can use those two things to galvanise us and launch into a season, there's a chance it could be good. What we're relying on, though, we're relying on it going a little bit wrong for the teams that are further down their journey.
How many teams does it have to go wrong for?
3, really. Like Liverpool, it really needs to go... You're
relying on a lot then.
Well, it really needs to go wrong for Liverpool because they're so much better than us. With Arsenal, it just needs to not go perfectly. With Man City, it needs to not go perfectly, and then it needs to go perfectly for us. But with Liverpool, we need I don't know, Verts to be a dud or something, which I just can't see happening. so it's going to be tough.
But you think top 4? I should be a given.
I think top 4 is almost in the bag. If you look at the signings that we've made, whether they take us closer to the summit of the league, jeopardy, but they certainly make us so much better than the likes of Villa and Tottenham and the chasing pack.
All right, Rory, that is it.
It's
been a pleasure. Don't forget, the Transfer Insiders is available as a podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Up next is the Sports Bar with Jamie O'Hara and Jermaine Pennant. Get in your calls to them right now. 03717 22 33 44.